whoops.
All right.
Yeah, bro. I'm gonna move my foot from the gas pedal, you know? Ooh.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Legacy Radio Show. My name's Nate from Aggravated Assault, and you can call us at 401-384-0622, or you can Skype us at Legacy Radio.
Yeah, his mic is garbage right now. It's choppy as hell.
And you're just...
See if it's
Look at this guy. He's just
totally
talking
fine,
in the background.
Totally fine on stream, just shitty for us, dude.
Hey, you're not gonna hear all the music beautiful on Skype. These guys. All right, so welcome to the show, guys. This is my name's Nate. I'm from Aggravated Assault Rifle, and I have Yu-Gi-Oh Tools, aka Garrett, and then the main guy here, Brooks, aka Nicholas Brooks, the main guy. How you doing, Brooks?
Hey, Nate, your mic is like hello.
It's
like
go ahead. Just
right
talk.
now.
Go ahead. Just talk. It's Skype. Skype does a little bit of feedback when you play music. It's all right.
All right, so don't play music.
I'll stop now.
Problem solved.
Wow.
Sweet, man. Well, yeah.
Well, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
And this is fun. We're gonna have a nice little podcast. We're gonna edit that out. You telling me not to play music? That's totally getting edited out.
Snip, snap.
All right,
snap.
dude.
So,
But yeah, you're in charge here, man. It's all you.
that's fine. So let's kind of go over this. We wanted to start a podcast. We wanted to talk about you. We wanted to talk about the program that we have going on right now, which I love. I got introduced to it by one of my buddies who actually stumbled upon it, and I'm having a great time. I've already learned quite a bit. And I've actually met quite a few of amazing people. Actually, they're all really nice. Nobody's jerks. You can join in with a group of people and play Halo. It's awesome. So, first question I have for you is, what made you get this started? Why don't you talk about it a little bit first? How about that?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, I mean, just talking about, I guess, the idea, right, where my idea for the program came from was about a year before I went ahead and started the program. I participated in this league called the SS League, short for Swords of St. Helios. I'm not sure if any of you know anything about that. It was something that was like caught a little fire on Reddit like a year before I did that thing. And basically what that was is it was a league. It was like a Slayer only league.
Mm-hmm.
And the structure of the league was such that you would pair up one Onyx player with 3 Diamond or lower players.
Okay, and it was a league, or was it a tournament, or?
And you would go ahead and play in a competitive league style format. In the league, and we'd go ahead and we went for like a season long and competed against the other teams in like best of 5s or whatever it was.
Okay.
And that was a really fun time. And I got to thinking like, this time in March last year, I was thinking back to that, and, that kind of started to dry out towards the end of the season because we weren't able to get games scheduled, and some people were just like falling in and out of it.
That is a tough thing.
So eventually, like, we didn't finish the tournament or like the playoffs or anything like that. But, I thought of that program, that league, I guess. And I thought about some things that would have made it a better experience. And I actually was going ahead and, I guess this spring, the people that I was usually playing with day in and day out, my old Spartan company, I was playing significantly less with them. I'm just going ahead and moving away from the company. And I was like, well, I kind of like having people to play with. And instead of going ahead and like finding a bunch of, people who are already playing together or whatever and trying to get involved with a group who's already established, I thought back to that league and I was like, hey, maybe I can go ahead and I can start something new. I can go ahead and try and like breed like a positive learning family type environment, going ahead and just from like the bottom up, that seemed like something that was feasible, and something I was really interested in doing. So I went ahead and I made that Reddit post, and then it was RIP in my inbox, and that's all she wrote, man.
So Reddit.
Lots of
I'm
Google
not
forums and times later, and here we are.
I'm not a big Reddit guy. Just never understood it. So you got involved in the Reddit community to kind of get more people together, and then at that point you just kind of submitted the forms, and that's actually how I found it. Somebody found it, I think, on, I want to say Halo Waypoint or something.
Really?
Yeah, he found it on
That'd be
like
interesting.
Halo Waypoint, and then that's how I got to the forum, and I signed up for this league. And I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. As time goes on, when people start things, it's when they start teetering out, and you start having issues getting games together, and then people start losing interest because you can't play. And
Sure.
I know that's something that's a challenge even in this league at times, because you got people who are very dedicated, and then all of a sudden there's other people who they want to be dedicated and then they're not anymore. But I want to tell you that, like, from experience, I think you've done a pretty good job with kind of keeping track of what's going on, and making sure everybody's still able to kind of keep things moving. I know
Sure. Yeah.
we had the preseason, I guess you want to say tournament, to place people, which you kind of already had an idea of where people were going to be placed anyway.
But we
But
say that we
rough
had
idea.
a general idea, but then we
Yeah,
see like
sure.
in the bracket we have like a 12 seed in like the final. So it was the preseason was obviously necessary. My problem was that we had like a little bit of a lull during the preseason, so there was probably a good 2 weeks where the community
Yeah.
wasn't active.
Sure, and I mean about that lull though. I think a big part of that I contributed to the end of semesters. So everyone like pumping out finals.
Yeah.
I know that most of my team was missing, and there were a majority of people that I saw. Because keep in mind that unlike most of you guys, I actually can go ahead and like poke into all of the chats and see what's going on.
mm-hmm.
And there were a large amount of people who were largely consumed with finals. Now that's not to say that all of our scheduling issues were in those 2 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things definitely could be more efficient in the times that we were going ahead and getting games played. And then I guess that kind of like rolls us into the address, right? And the feedback, addressing that feedback, and talking about how the structure of our first season, the dedicated subs per teams, still having some peripheral subs, and going ahead and setting a schedule ahead of time. All of those things, I think those will be good for having, I think, a calm and consistent schedule moving forward, which I think will be good. Like, it's easier for people to manage and invest themselves into something that isn't, that extra level of crazy where they have to put in another level of trying to get things scheduled and talking to this person and that person. If it takes a lot less effort for them, like on an individual basis, to go ahead and get games played. So knowing ahead of time, this date, this date, this date, this date, we have games on this date.
What do
this
you
date,
think
this
the
date, we have
average
practice. I
time
think
people
that's
are
good.
able to play?
Per week?
Yeah, like what's the average like time? Meaning like I only could play at 10 p.m. Eastern time technically.
The average time like during the day.
Today was
like,
a special
time frame
day, by the
wise.
way. The wife gave me permission to do this at 9. Took a little bit longer, but we're here.
Sure.
So
And
what's the typical play time?
Extend your
of people?
wife a thank you on the behalf of the program, of course, for letting us.
I have to clean her truck out now, by the way. So I'm just letting you know that. So
There's always a catch, man.
always.
The dedication to the
Jeez.
program right there, bro.
I appreciate that.
Nah,
Thanks,
it's
man.
all good. I love this.
I think like just to expand on what he was saying, that's a good point. Like I think most people on the server are East Coast, and for my team personally, it causes an issue because a lot of us work until like 7:30 Pacific time. So that means when we try getting on against East Coast teams, it's a real issue. So like, how are we going to address time zone issues moving forward? Because my team's going to have hard times, unless if it's the weekend, they're going to have hard times playing against East Coast teams that can't stay up too late because we can't have a team of 4 on until 7:30.
Sure. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, that is a good question. And I think that, I've thought about that a little bit, right? There are going to be some 2 teams where their schedules mesh a little bit better, and it will take we don't need as long of a time span to plan ahead for those 2 teams to get their games played because they have matching similarities, right? So thinking is, this is something that the coaches are going to handle. We're all going to confer and talk to one another. all the A division coaches and all the B division coaches and talk about our team's general availabilities and things. And I think that it would make sense to go ahead and have the teams whose schedules mesh better go ahead and play earlier, because we don't need to put as much planning and stuff ahead of time to go ahead and getting that set up. And then for the teams who schedules don't usually mesh quite as well, that's where we're going to see the benefit, right, of this process of planning ahead, because we'll be able to go ahead and set a date ahead of time, whether it is a weekday where we can go ahead and make some availability, or a weekend day where there is availability, but most people on weekends, it's, oh, I don't know what I'm doing this weekend, and I didn't plan for this. So if we know 3 weekends in advance that something has to get done on a weekend, I don't think that we should see a problem, with those types of teams, right, that don't mesh quite as well, like you guys and an East Coast team.
Yeah.
I think with 3 weeks of like wiggle room on a weekend, I doubt that would be an issue.
Now, I do you mind if I call you by your first name? Is that all right?
What, Nick?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know if you're cool with that at all. I mean, here's the thing. Some people are weird like that.
I actually go by Brooks. Actually,
you do go by
Brooks
as
well.
Okay. So, all right. So I didn't know if that was just like a gamer tag thing or whatever.
No. Yeah. Because I mean, it's like you know how you move like back in school, right? You move with like the same group of people from class to class.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much like through 3rd and 4th and 5th grade or whatever. Well, my group had like 3 or 4 Nicks at any given year, so we all got our own names.
That's awesome.
Just to avoid confusion, so I just went by my last name since then.
That works, though.
Kids where you live, huh?
So, how old are you, by the way?
Me, 21.
That's awesome. That one thing I want to give you kudos on, and this is coming from someone who works in a role in his job in leadership. I don't know what you do right now. I know you said you work for some government thing. I don't know. Maybe this whole program is to monitor us. But what I can say is, like, seriously, like you have that whole leadership vibe. You've got that down to a T. So if you're not doing anything big right now, I know for a fact you will be. I just want to state that because I can tell by your whole demeanor. And Garrett, you're awesome too, by the way. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to kiss Brooks's butt.
I get it. He's the founder.
But I mean, I just want to give credit where credit's due.
I'm a little grunt, bro. I get it.
You're not a grunt at all, though. Here's the thing: is you took it upon yourself, and I want to get into that too. To go ahead and start doing these live casts. I mean, we're taking a bunch of talent, and that's another thing about this program is we're finding tons of talent for different things and making this thing bigger. And I wanted to ask a question by Sir Munchie. He said, "What is your full vision of the program to grow into?"
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, just to go ahead and respond to what you had said, quick. I definitely appreciate your sentiment there about just like me and how you feel that I go ahead and I carry myself and take care of the program. I've just always generally been in positions like moving through school and stuff where, like working in high school or like having to take the lead in like group projects and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just something that's always been pretty natural for me for quite some time. I've been fortunate enough to be around people who value me and my opinion and things like that. And I've had a lot of opportunities, right, to go ahead and kind of identity so far as a leader or, whatever. So, I mean, yeah, that's been pretty fortunate for me. And as far as Gary and his involvement, I mean, there are a lot of people who are going ahead and helping out in various ways. But Gary is like very much my right-hand man.
He's an essential piece to the puzzle. I can definitely say that.
I agree.
One of my favorite things, I mean, and this was from watching the HCS championship matches that were streaming live. He's casting his own matches for this league, and I'm sitting here like watching it like it's ESPN over here. Like I have my phone up, I'm chilling, I'm like eating my food, I'm watching this, dude. I'm loving it. And he and Gary, that's another thing. Your energy when you start and you know everything about the game and your call outs and what's going on and what they should do. It's like I'm literally watching like an ESPN event. I mean,
I'm sure Walshy and them can put me to shame, but like when I came in, it's like I've always wanted to do casting. Like I went to school for like film, and I'm working on like becoming a commentator for sports and such. But I always liked esports, and I always was always fascinated by the casting stuff. I was like, and then I got an opportunity to cast, So I was like, well, this is really awesome. Then I can't thank enough for like Odious Wraith, who's in the chat right now, and Someone Smarter, and anybody that's been like giving me overlays, anybody that's been giving me like information. Fender, you don't even see him doing graphic stuff, but he gets all my stats ready before games. So like, there's so much that goes involved. Like I used to be coming home at like at 4:00, and there would be a stream at 2, and I'd get home, take a 10-minute shower, get on my computer, and have like set up OBS stuff now. But now I can get home, and in like 20 minutes, everything's ready for me. I just have to switch a couple things, and it only takes me 20 minutes to get a stream ready now. But I mean, the amount of support that comes out from the talented people. I mean, we have so many graphic artists that are just super talented in this program, and it's awesome to see that people can have their work out there for something that they're a part of, and something that's really grassroots, something that's really taken off like this, that they can point to. I mean, this is a really good thing that we're, hey, it might not be very good. Not very good. It might not be very good, big. Ugh, can't talk. But it's something that you can look at and you can be like, well, I help. Like, this is something that I just started with a Reddit post, like, I don't know, 2 months ago, and now it's something where we have 40 to 60 people being active and watching, and we have a YouTube that's growing pretty steadily right now. Our streams are getting 20 to 30 viewers a stream, which is not, doesn't sound big, but when it comes to Halo 5, I mean, we're number 4 on the Halo 5. That's pretty big.
That is pretty big. That is awesome. And, that's the thing. It's the community. And that's what I was trying to explain before is, back in the day, and when I'm talking about Halo 2, even Halo 3, stuff like that, when I would play, I'd only play with my buddies because, and these are guys that I originally played Halo 1 with, kind of grew into Halo 2, added a couple guys, and that's who I stuck with. And then they all kind of disappeared. And then when you go to play online, you would get like, you get the guys who like to bust your chops, talk trash, and you're never really kind of creating like a crew and having friendships or anything like that. And with this though, it's like, it doesn't matter if I'm playing horrible. Nobody's sitting there messaging me or privately or saying out loud, man, you fucking suck or anything like that, And that's a big thing, though, because, I mean, there's times where I'm like, man, someone's going to hate me right now. And everybody's mad chill. And they're just, hanging out. They're having a good time. They're not even worried about it. And that's what I like is the community all together. They come together. They're producing content. It's just kind of it's kind of taking on a mind of its own. And
yeah, right.
I love that.
Sure.
There was another question. Hold on.
Oh,
I was
going to say, did we want to get back to Munchie's question? I was getting ready to come back to
that. Go ahead. Go right back to that. That's fine.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, and it's funny, right? Because, I mean, just what you were talking about, it kind of brings it like full swing, exactly what I was thinking. So pretty much what did I want to see happen with this program and where do I want to see us take it, right? So what I wanted initially, like at the base, right, were people who were interested in like giving feedback at the forefront, about things like the preseason. I knew there would be some growing pains, so I knew that we needed people who would be active about, voicing that type of feedback and things like that. And people who were, I guess, open-minded to going ahead and making those learning gains and dealing with some of this structure kind of as it's growing and as we are kind of, I guess, molding some of the specifics, right? Like how we hammered out the details for the first season. Mm-hmm. So people who went ahead and they were willing to sit it out before we even had a Discord set up. It's an immediate goal, and that went really well. It actually went better than expected because we, I think that it's part of like the, I guess, feeling that I, love, right? I very much love teaching the game. Halo is something that I have a lot of fun with, and I find it really fulfilling to be able to have, like, help people out, right? Like I talked about in the address. And, with that, I am very much a fan of, a positive community where everyone is, like, friends and like, having a good time together and like willing to help out. And I think that when you go ahead and you foster an environment like that, and when people are super appreciative to be a part of it, now the program is definitely not a paid thing. I don't see it ever being like a paid thing where it sounds ridiculous. But, because we are doing it, I guess, of our own volition, right? People seem inclined to go ahead and help out however they can. So we see all of the people like Gary stepping up and taking, like leading the charge at the casting front. We see everyone come out and offering to go ahead and cast with him or make graphics, or if a team needs a logo, Munchie or Killer, whoever, are reaching out, trying to like help them out with something, or even if people, if there isn't a need for someone to cast at the moment or make a design for something at the moment, everyone's looking to go ahead and provide feedback. They know that I'm very welcoming of the feedback, and all of the coaches seem pretty good about, being receptive to those types of things. So everyone wants to go ahead, and because they're not necessarily paying for it, they're just here, because we have a group of kind people who want to, help each other out and have a good time, as everyone wants to go ahead and contribute to that, right?
Exactly. And by the way,
family house currently where we're at, and I really like that.
All right. And
you were gonna say something?
No, yeah. Skype is acting a little funky, so sometimes you might you seems like you lag out just a tiny bit, but I heard everything, so you should be fine.
Sure.
I also, by the way, I am reading the chat.
Oh,
Japanther, he said, "I tell Archer he sucks all the time." Thanks. No, you don't. But not for that. I'm gonna challenge you to a 1v1. I'm gonna stream it, and I'm gonna embarrass you now. I'm just kidding.
Man, you'd stream your own demise. I mean,
yeah, he's pretty good. He'll just destroy me. He'll destroy. Let's see what else. Somebody else said they love that you're drinking out of a pitcher, Garrett.
You have to get as much water as you can. People like. It's not true that you have to drink 8 cups a day, but if you don't want to eat a lot a day, what you do is you just drink a lot of water, and that's what happens. And plus, I live in 117-degree heat. It helps to have water,
What
Go
else?
outside, and that's the best.
Oh, so you're not even drinking? I thought you were drinking beer out of a pitcher. No.
No. That's just Crystal Light.
That's the Crystal. That's the worst, man. What are you doing? That is like Splenda in it.
Oh my God! You think Splendid like causes cancer or some shit?
Dude, anything I can reduce that, because that's like my biggest fear right there. Anything I can do to reduce that, yeah, I'm all set. What else? By the way, guys, since I am reading the chat, if anybody has questions or anything like that, feel free to post it in the chat as well. We do have a call-in line. It's 384. That's 401-384-0622. So I want to kind of jump back to another question here. I have Mr. Meeseeks, and he said, what is the overall skill that lower skilled players should focus on to step up their game?
Sure. There's a little bugger here. Got him, bastard. All right. So when we're talking about the needs of lower tier players versus higher tier players, it's actually a bit more involved than people might think. When you go ahead and you work, especially like once you have been in a tutelage type of position, you go ahead and you understand that there's not really a blanket solution to anyone's individual growth, right? Whether it's like math or Halo or whatever. Everyone has certain things that they will do well naturally. They have certain things that they will struggle with. So I guess I'm not sure that there is like a blanket solution as far as what I think that lower tier players should focus on first. We're going to get into that a little bit later, actually, too. It's just going to be part of the conversation about one of the questions I think that somebody had passed on to me and I wanted to talk about. But
by the way, if you guys have questions saved as well, definitely read them out. I'm not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so I mean, as a lower tier player, right, I think that I used to have a general idea of what you should do at the certain ranks to go ahead and like move up into the next rank. So this was before the settings switched for HCS, and we had like a different understanding of what the ranks were. So if you were bronze, you literally do nothing. Like I would ask you to do nothing, then just play more. The people in bronze are people who have never played a shooter before, having issues like walking and aiming at the same time. So once you do that a little more, you get bumped into silver.
Yeah.
And once you get bumped into silver, it's another thing where I feel it's a lot of that same mentality where you're going out and you're playing more. Just starting to get used to the maps, starting to get used to how the weapons work.
One of the biggest things, and I'm going to agree with that I feel, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think Orange Pandas 911 said it in the chat. He said communication. I think that's a big thing. If you don't know the callouts, right? You don't know the map. You don't know the callouts. I mean, yeah, you need to know the map first. I think that's awareness of where you are. But if you're not communicating effectively, you're never gonna. And that's, I think, a big thing right now, even with my own team. It's kind of getting used to playing with each other, communicating where we're gonna go, where we're gonna be, where the guy, other team is.
Yeah, right. So, it's just a matter of how much you could focus on at any given time, what you currently have an understanding of, and what you need to learn, right? So, one thing that I talked about, and I think I discussed it in Gunfighting 102, is that the professionals, like the Halo 5 professionals or Halo professionals in the past, they are very good at the game, but they're not impossibly good. They weren't like born fragging or anything, like frag grenade out of the womb or anything. They're people who go ahead and they have put in a ton of time into the game, right? So they're playing at least 40 hours a week, like a full-time job. And, especially for the players who have been playing for multiple titles, they've been doing it for a long time. And how I compared it to is that as a person, the more you do a certain thing, the easier it becomes. And the easier it becomes, the less you have to think about it. And the more you get to focus on doing other things, right? So like when you're a baby, sitting on your ass doesn't take a whole lot of work. And then you start crawling. And once you start crawling, that's pretty natural. And then you start to learn how to walk. And once you know how to walk, then you start learning how to do other things, right? So when you go ahead and you pick up an FPS for the first time, you're learning how to walk. And once you know how to walk, you have to learn how to like jump on things or like pull your trigger. And once you know how to do those things, then you start thinking about the map. You start thinking about the different weapons and like how you use the different weapons. And once you take up the step above those basics there, then you start thinking about things like communicating. And even so, you're thinking about communicating, you're thinking about watching spawns, you're thinking about playing the certain meta for whatever map game type combination you have going on.
Mm-hmm.
And even within those things, right, within those subcategories of different things a player has to learn, there's different steps to that, right? So like when you're thinking about a map, you're thinking about just the general structure of the map, and then you're thinking about like the power positions on the map, and then you're thinking about like tactical jumps. And as far as communication goes, knowing the callouts is one thing, saying the callouts is one thing, saying the callouts when you see people versus after you already die is a challenge in its own.
Yep.
And then getting the idea of small talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about where you are, like what you see, like knowing where your teammates are and be like, oh, hey, Gary, I'm on your left, or, I'll go ahead and I'll like watch behind you or whatever.
I like
or,
the skin of your gun.
Behind you, we have the team shot. So there are a lot of different steps even within those subcategories.
Yeah.
So the thing is, what were you going to say, Gary?
We can go a step further, and communication's important, but I think the more important skill that people need to learn is listening. I mean, it's a really hard thing to, because you can play a lot and you can call out everything you see and you can call it out the best way possible. But if no one's listening, or if you're not listening to call outs, then your call outs fall on deaf ears. And it's a really hard thing to learn to like wrap your gameplay around listening rather than because when some people play, they imagine the game is revolving around them, when in fact, you have 3 other teammates that need help. And if you just sit back and you become more of a selfless player and you help your teammates, you're going to see an improvement in your gameplay, because 1, you're not pushing out by yourself and dying a lot more. 2, you're going to be, getting a lot more assists on the board. You're going to be getting a lot more one shots. and the
Sure.
score line's going to start skewing a lot higher. And that's one thing that sets a lot of Onyxes apart from Diamonds is that when they have a full team of 4, their communication is largely based around the listening. And another thing is, like, what we're trying to develop, especially since players in our league are gold and platinum level, is like we're trying to develop their Halo mind rather than like you can have 4 people communicating, that's great, but like we're trying to develop your individual skills. So teaching you how to think like a Halo player when you're playing the game, rather than thinking about, hey, I'm looking at this guy, I'm shooting, I'm calling him out. I hear a call out, I'm gonna shoot at that guy. You have to be thinking about, hey, spawns are here. Hey, I saw somebody pop up on my radar. I know they're to my right. I'm going to finish this kill. I'm going to move to the top of the map. Then look at where that guy on my right is probably going to end up going. So if there's a guy like bottom dip on Plaza, then you know he's probably going to that hotel, to that garbage truck. So if you're sitting in Flowers, you can kill the guy across from, like, let's say, Posters area. And then you can move sort of like towards that top mid, throw a pre-nade over at that garbage truck, and you're probably going to get him one shot. You know, it's like little things like that will elevate your gameplay a lot, and that's a really hard thing to teach people.
Sure,
and
right.
And that all comes with practice and like people pointing that out, and that's what we're here for. Is, you know, we point out those little things, and we try to develop those Halo skills.
And to bring it back to what Brooks said.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. So Gary's talking about all of these different things and trying to keep all these things in mind and like adding them up, like one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other, like one thing after the other. And obviously for a low level player, that's not obtainable immediately, right? There's a lot of different steps, like I was talking about, that you have to take to get there, right? So basically, to come back to Jeff's question and just cap that off, right, is you have to understand individually as a player what you currently have a good understanding of and what you don't currently have a good understanding of. And then once you understand the things that you don't know, you have to understand how much you could feasibly work on at one time. Because if you're trying to go ahead and think about spawns and watching the kill feed and communicating well, and playing the map game type meta and playing the objective, if you're trying to focus on all those things at once and you don't know how to do any of those things well yet, that's like, you know, a kid growing up and who hasn't learned to run yet, and he's trying to like play football and like, I don't know, like play different positions in football or like whatever, like doing a bunch of different things while he's like talking and or singing or whatever else he's trying to learn. It's not feasible to do all those things at one time. You have to go ahead and you have to pick and choose certain things. And for different people, it's going to be different how much they can take on at one time. But you want to go ahead and you want to do it until you have an idea, like you have a good understanding of that thing. And once that thing becomes second nature, then you can go ahead and move on to other things. And that's how the professional players of this game are able to focus so much on where their teammates are, or, you know, setting up coordinated pushes together, or thinking about spawns, is because watching the kill feed, shooting, moving around the map, communicating, all those things are second nature to them. You know, the same way that you go ahead and you bless people when they sneeze or whatever, you know, they communicate when they see a person on the map. You know, it doesn't take any mental effort and allows them to mentally think about those other things.
No, I find Halo to be very similar to like driving, and the fact that like a lot of people, like most people, when they start driving, they have a lot of experience that happens fast because you're driving for hours a day. Sure. And when you're driving, you're looking at your rear view mirror, your side mirrors, everything. Every 2 seconds, you know, you're gathering all that information, and you will realize, hey, I can probably move over one lane and not cause an accident. And that's like, and that itself, when you're beginning to learn how to drive, it can be a very scary thing. But like, you have to keep doing it more and more, and you have to develop those skills in order to get that. And Halo is the same way. I mean, it's just awareness of what's going on around you and realizing that you're a part of it, but there's also 100 other people on the road that have all their individual thoughts, and that you have to, you know, kind of map your way around that. And, you know, it all comes down to playing a lot and developing those skills that.
Now, how much would you recommend to play though? So for example, with myself, right? I get on. I'm on quite a bit actually at night. But you know, there are times where you can't get on all that much. Do you think even people who don't play that much could still develop the same skills? Probably not as quick, or maybe just as quick, but I don't know. I mean, I know myself, and I know other people I play with, they're just not able to get on all that much. And then, you know, I do think it gets a little discouraging when you play against a team that just completely smashes you. So how much would you say you would recommend to play, if ideally?
Sure. So, I mean, It depends. As far as trying to get better, right? Asking how much you need to play in order to get better.
Mm-hmm.
That is very dependent, like I said, on an individual basis, right?
Yes.
So if you're one of those players who's still building their fundamentals, still working on their shot, still, working on their movement and things like that, those are things that require time to go ahead and fix. Now, that being said, there are certain things where if you just went ahead and you played all the time, right, without taking the time to think about what you're doing, and you just did nothing but like play and have your mind in each individual game, once you reach a certain level, I'd probably say like the platinum diamond level, if assuming that your shot and your movement is solid by the time that you get to that platinum
Yeah. Yeah, your Skype is lagging out just a little bit. Give it a second.
Point. Okay, sure.
There you go. Go ahead. I think you're good now.
Okay. So as like a plat or diamond player, if you have been developing your shot and your movement well, and that's basically as solid as it's going to be. If you have like a frosty level shot and movement as a plat or diamond level player, you no longer are going to get any better as a player by just playing your comms and your ideas of spawns and like how those work or the game type strategies. That doesn't happen by just playing mindlessly for more amount of time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that you can do outside of the game to go ahead and prepare, right? So that type of work, that is watching film, looking at the mistakes that you're making, and thinking about trying to eliminate those mistakes. That is going ahead and putting in time to understand what the meta of each of the maps are like, like what positions you should try and hold and how you should work as a team. Just general like knowledge stuff. So certain types of jumps you wouldn't get by just playing if you don't know them. You have to take the time to work on them and develop those skills. You could bet your ass that like Shotzi, for example, who can hit his spring jumps like 80% of the time, if he just went ahead and he did nothing but play, right? Like nothing but play matchmaking, there's no time for him to develop that skill. So he needs to take different time, right, to go ahead and jump into a custom game by himself and just practice that muscle memory for hours.
That's interesting. That is.
So I think what he's trying to get to is, quality over quantity. When you get up to that plat level, it's always quality over quantity at that point. And you can play for 5 hours a day, but if you're playing mindlessly and like, let's say you want to play Social Slayer because you drop big numbers and you play really well in it, but that's not good practice. It's like it might look good on the scoreboard, but you're not getting good practice. And if you can go and get in as much 8s lobby as possible, like if you're getting on 8s and you're having 2 teams of 4v4 all calling out, playing against each other, that's really good practice. Or if you're gonna sit one day and say, hey, I need to learn this jump. Like a lot of people can't I can't make the jump from P1 to P2, but I need to know that jump. So I'm gonna sit in a private lobby for an hour and I'm gonna learn that jump because it's important that I know it, because it's gonna make my gameplay better. And little practices like that you're trying to learn something or that you're actively working towards a goal is going to be a lot more beneficial to you when you're a higher level player than just jumping into a social or jumping into a solo queue over and over again.
So someone smarter has a couple questions here. He said, I know, or I'm going to kind of sum this up, but he goes, I know that the loser from the A division, they will get sent down. If they lose out of the season, they'll get sent down to the B division. How are you going to keep the A league teams from dominating the B league level?
Sure. So basically what it is that it's not that the last place A team is guaranteed to go down to the B division. That's not the case. What happens is that the lowest A team, the lowest ranked A team, like the bottom 2 will go ahead and play, and the loser of that, they don't just go down to the B division. They will be playing against the top team in the B division, right? And then if the B division beats that bottom A team, then the B division is going to go up to the A division. And that A division, that lowest A division team, like if they lost against the B team champions, they would go down to the B division.
That makes sense.
So Smarter's question... Yeah, that's exactly right. And I mean, to answer Smarter's question then, if that B team, that top B team, goes ahead and they beat that bottom A team, then that means that the B division is actually better off now that that B champion team is out of the division, because the team supposedly worse than them has then come into the division, and the best team left.
And I know that it was another question that Connosaurus Hex was the one that asked it. Kyle asked it, and I think he was thinking a little too far ahead. But his main concern was what's stopping an A team that's not doing too well in the A League to throw their match and go into the B League team and play easier people because they want to win more.
Sure. I mean,
I don't think somebody would want to do that though. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, the way things are going now, it seems like everybody wants to do well, and not in a way where people are gonna. It's not like matchmaking, you know. Matchmaking, people will create what do you call them? Fake accounts or whatever. Smurfs, exactly, to play against lower level people just so they can beat them and have fun smashing on them. And people used to back in the day in Halo 2 D rank just so they could. It's same premise. I don't think that's going to happen here, and I think that with you overseeing it and other people as well, and the coaches and stuff like that, they know what's going on. I mean, it's all communication at that point.
Yep.
Someone smarter also asked, will the program extend into Halo 6? But before you answer that, because I actually had another question that kind of jived with what we were talking about, Sir Munchie said, will there be an S5 program night designated for 8s?
Okay, so Nate, if you could, I guess, just start, like, just for, I guess, the duration of the podcast, just asking, like, Gary and I if we have anything to add to a question before we move on to the next one.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
I think that would be good.
No, that's fine. Do you have something else to add? Because I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you on that.
Yeah, no, just to bounce off what you said, I think that you're exactly right. You know, with the mentality of the program and everyone here, you know, most of the people here, we've had a couple conversations with a couple of specific people about the program not being about winning and about getting better. You know, as long as we go ahead and we do a good job of continuing to cultivate that feeling and that purpose, you know, we're not going to have issues with teams going ahead and like tossing games to go ahead and go play in the B division, because they want to play the better teams. They want to do what they can to try and get better. And you don't get better by dropping into the B division and like smashing on kids.
Exactly.
And that being said, if a team did that, it would require that their coach and all of their players were on board with doing that, which is an effort in its own. And really, that team's going to have a bad time anyway, because once they get to the B division, then they have to play Kitty Squad, and they're just going to be in for a rough time. So,
Kitty Squad's in the B division?
Yes, Kitty Squad will be B division this season.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Looking forward to it, huh?
And Gary, do you have anything to add to that at all? Or?
So, now that we're talking about A and B divisions, actually, you had another question, but after that question, I think we have.
Yeah, Munchie had a question, and then you said Smarter had another question.
So after that, I'll get that going. But you know, I don't have much to add. You know, it's in the end, you know, Burke says it, and I've had this problem where, you know, you have to talk to people. You have to sit down, like, hey, this, like, I get that you're competitive and I get that you want to win, but in the end, this league isn't about doing everything necessary to win. In the end, it's about developing your own play skill and making yourself get better as a player, rather than trying to dominate someone.
I agree, and I can just definitely say for myself, since I started to now, I've already feel like I've gotten better in many different ways. And it's funny because when I play against people like regular matchmaking, and I start like kicking the crap out of people, I'm like, oh, this is kind of easy, all right, because I'm so used to playing against, you know, higher level guys now, and guys who are playing, you know what I mean? It's you can definitely see the difference. I'm not amazing at all by far, but I definitely have gotten better from when I started to now.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I got better. Is I went ahead and I was just continually, like, in my first couple of years of Halo, back in Halo 3, I never played a shooter before I picked up Halo 3, and my friends were playing it, and I couldn't even like walk straight. Never played the dual sticks before, and you know, I went ahead and I started playing with them, and, you know, I started getting beat by them. So I went ahead and they had like weekly LANs at my local movie theater. So I went and I'm like, hey, I'm a scrub. Can some people teach me how to play? And those are some dudes who are actually pretty good. So they went ahead and they were teaching me the fundamentals of the game. And I got smashed for the longest time. I probably got smashed for 3 or 4 weeks before I saw any, you know, results of being able to hang with them. But I would say as I was playing with those, better people, it only took me a month and a half, and then I went to my friend's house again that I hadn't played with in a little while, and I went from not being able to walk straight to just smashing them. Not even close. That's definitely how you get better, is by playing fair, or teams who are at your level for certain things, but then at the teams who are that step above you, you have to look at those teams and see what they're doing and see what types of So the thing that's nice about playing a team at your level is that you get to go ahead and all of the things that you've been practicing strategy wise, it gives you a good testing ground for that. And then the benefit that comes with playing a team better than you is that you get to see things that they're doing that you're not doing that you should be doing. And then they're also able to exploit mistakes in your gameplay that you don't see when you're playing with people at your level or below, right? So generally, if you're trying to get better, what you want to do is you want to play teams at your level and teams above your level, and then look at those different matchups for their different purposes.
So G Sting had a question about the upcoming season, and he was asking why does the B teams, why are they playing best of threes? And if everyone is scheduling their time and presumably likes playing, why aren't they playing best of fives?
Sure. So I mean, what was Munchie's question, Nate?
Is there? Hold on one second.
I'm just making sure that we're covering everything. I don't want to leave anything unanswered.
It says, will there be an S5 program night designated for 8s?
So currently we have plans to have that available for subs for sure. Now that being said, I don't see that it would be a problem to have an open 8s night either weekly or bi-weekly for the players. And I also don't think that it would be a problem to have like a designated scrim night where teams should go ahead and try and focus to plan scrims for a particular night. Those are things that I am definitely open to. But now that being said, for things like the scrims and the 8s for the players who are on teams, is that those players, not only are they going to have weekly matches, but they're also going to have weekly practices as well. So a weekly 8s night, that's definitely feasible for players, as long as those are players who have more time on their hands. But I guess we'll just have to see how many of those players are there and have that extra time left over after a weekly match and a weekly practice, at least one or two, But that's definitely something that I am open to moving forward for sure.
Awesome. I hope so too, because that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always fun for us, just like today, Gary and I hopped in there, and Archer, I don't think you were there, but we were all, messing around and having a good time.
Might have been fun for you.
I didn't get invited. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I bagged Yugi a couple of times. Neither of the kills are really like that good. I just was just messing around.
No, but on the same vein of the 8s thing, it's great for us to plan community events like that, have a day a week set aside. But like, we are not stopping anybody at all from getting in that LFG group and like starting up their own 8s. And we have 8s being played common, like in a semi-common theme. I think we have probably 4 or 5 8s lobbies happening a week. And if you want to start playing more 8s, just make sure that you're a little bit more active in that LFG group, and you start getting that going. But we're definitely looking into like starting weekly events. But we also, it comes both ways. And if we can start up a weekly stuff, but if we don't have the participation, then it's hard for us to continue that. And if you guys show interest and start getting 8s lobbies going on more often, it's a lot easier for us to start those 8s lobbies.
Yeah, so it's definitely something that we'll have to go ahead, and I think that I want to kick off maybe the first week or two of the season, just so everyone has a better idea of what their time is going to look like for the rest of the season. And then once they have, I think, a better understanding of that, then we'll go ahead, we'll set a night, and we'll see how it goes. I think that's what we'll roll with right now.
Sounds good. Anybody else want to add any more to that at all, or do you want to go to Garrett's question?
I think we're good. Well, we also have Smarter, who asked about H6.
Okay.
And the short answer to that is that I would say yes.
Why not?
There's no reason to stop the gain train while it's rolling, So
that'd be great. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Keep everybody
definitely
together.
So I guess let's move forward to G Sting's question about the best of 3s in the lower tier. I mean, why? We discussed this in the coaching channel, but why are B teams playing best of 3s instead of best of 5s?
Sure. Yeah, right. So I have no doubt that there are B teams who will have, because it's not about the time, right? And it's not about the time. It's not about the time. It's not about the time. There are going to be those players in the B division as well as the A division who want to go ahead and they want to put in as much time, structured matches and things like that, opportunities to learn as possible, because they have that time and they have that drive to go ahead and work on their game. And the matches, not only are they a good way to work on their game, but they're a lot of fun, right? And you're wondering if we're going to set matches anyway. I definitely could see why you're asking why it's a best of 3 versus a best of 5. So my reply to that is that, and like we had discussed it in the coaching office as well, and we actually touched on, I guess, some of the background reasoning a little bit earlier, where different players at different levels are going to have different things that they should be focusing on, right? Mm-hmm. So I actually had this conversation with Trey on Fury, and the way I explained it was that, generally speaking, the players who are in that lower half, they have a different, they have different things that they need to work on immediately, right? So, things like fundamentals. So going ahead and making their shots better, making their movement better, starting their communication off stronger. And like I said earlier, when you go ahead and if you don't have a solid shot, don't have that solid movement, and you don't have that solid individual play, and you're like putting yourself in terrible positions, or just like running up by yourself, or just like running bottom mid for no reason, those types of individual mistakes that are easy fixes. If you're doing all of those things while you're also trying to play the map meta, well as a team, and you're thinking about communicating and handling all the spawns, it's one of those things where if you go ahead and you try and focus on everything like that, you're not going to be able to, right? Mm-hmm. So the reason that the B division is best of 3 versus best of 5 is that I figured that, with the best of 5, it would allow those A teams a better opportunity, because most of the stuff that they will be doing is that team stuff, thinking about how they can go ahead and play a certain game type a certain way and playing well and doing that. And they get more out of that by playing more games. And the thing with the best of 3 is that, if we went ahead and we prepared for a best of 5 and we had all the B teams trying to prepare strategies for all of those 5 games and fix mistakes for 5 games worth every week, that is really overwhelming to do when you still have all of those fundamentals to work on.
You're keeping it simple.
And that's where we get into a territory of not having enough time to do all of those things.
Perfect. Yeah, you're keeping it simple. That makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's exactly what I've been doing with Kitty Squad recently, is that, in the preseason, I wanted to introduce them to the maps and have them understand the different types of, strategies and things like that, playing as a team, seeing what that will look like. But that being said, they all have a lot of room to grow individually. And, it's kind of like if you're building a skyscraper, you don't want to go ahead and, use a shitty foundation for that size skyscraper, or else it's going to fall, So, that's just not a good idea. So I'm going ahead and I'm establishing the base, and I am turning them into a bunch of fundamentals freaks. That way, once they go ahead and they're dominating the rest of the teams with their fundamentals, then they will be able to go ahead, and when we make that jump to the A division and all their shots are solid and they're not making stupid individual mistakes, we'll have a much better time talking about the game types and the maps and how to play them and how to play as a team.
So someone smarter said in the chat, well, best of 3, equals 2 bad games, and you're out. Best of 5, you can have 2 bad games, and you still have a chance to win. And, I'm just addressing that real fast. In the end, when we're talking about these B teams, it's not a discussion whether they're winning or not. It's a discussion whether they're getting better. And like you said, it's harder for us to go over film with B teams that are working on those fundamentals. Like, we're trying to get them better. So if we can have 2 great game film sessions where we can point out every single thing and let them study that game, then it's more beneficial to those players. While in the best of 5, playing more is obviously going to be better for them, for the A teams. And that's something that it's really hard, especially since we're playing in a competitive sense with a league and everything, to point towards, well, this is more competitive. This is more about winning, and stuff like that. But we're really trying to focus really hard on the program, not let it morph into a league, but rather still morph into this developmental program that we're working towards, not a competitive league.
Yeah, 100%. This is a program very much before it is a league of anything. It is a program with a league structure, but it is a program where at the end of the day, it's about getting better. That's for sure. That is the number one priority.
Perfect. Yeah.
You know, I mean, besides the positivity and stuff, because I feel like that's really important. But, you know, yeah.
And somebody Pseudo said, so keep the same map/game type layout for multiple weeks. So I think he was referencing the five versus the 3. He says, well, why not just keep the same game type/maps for multiple weeks, so those people can get used to playing them. But I still agree with you, and I'm just gonna add to that. I still agree with you, Brooks, and Yu-Gi-Oh here, that I think having the 3 is simple. You don't want to overwhelm. And they can put more focus on those 3 maps and game types rather than focusing on 5, which is a lot. It is a lot.
And the fundamentals as well as the game types, which is the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Sure. So does anybody have anything else to add to this at all before we move on to the next question?
Yeah. Gary, if you want to respond to that first, I'm just going to grab my water. I'll just be right back.
Okay. You know, and Pseudo he's making good points. So, you know, less preparation required each week, and stuff. But like when we're talking about these B League teams, it's not the preparation that goes into the maps that we really need to be focused on. It's the communication that goes on between the players, letting them become better listeners and letting them develop those skills. And then just once again, like a lot of these players in the B team, they need a strong looks towards their development in basic functions, like, you know, walking and shooting, strafing, like simple things that like might be very easy to Onyx players, can be a lot harder for players in lower divisions. So if we focus on those things rather than focusing on winning 5 games or winning on 3 games, we focus on those things would be. And, you know, it is a good thing for reputation, but, you know, in the end, we want these players to still have a good mix of variety. Like, we still want them playing a Strongholds, a CTF, a Slayer every once in a while. And we want them to be playing on different maps, because you can be the best Regret Slayer player in the world, but if you're not going to be well-versed in the other Slayer maps, then what's the point? You know, you still have to be versatile when you're playing other maps. And I don't know if Brooks has anything else to add towards that conversation, but
yeah. I mean, just my knee-jerk reaction to that question, right? So if the question is, would there be benefit in going ahead and repeating maps week to week? The answer is yes, no doubt. You know, because if you go ahead and you play Fathom CTF and your team doesn't do a great job, and you go through the film session afterwards and you understand what you did wrong, there's no doubt that there would be benefit in playing that game type again, and then, you know, seeing what things you can fix and what things you'll still have trouble with. You know, there's no doubt that there's benefit there, right? So, I mean, at that point, it's just a matter of how do we walk that line of making the season condensed enough that, you know, it's not this thing that's going to go on for weeks and weeks and weeks before we get to have another, you know, time like this where we can make changes and things like that, you know, easily, and, you know, look back and get certain feedback on things and keep things fresh. So how do we go ahead and we walk that line between keeping the season short enough that we can go ahead and keep things fresh and, you know, have a little bit of change here and there, and
right,
you know, doing things like repetition, right, and thinking about those things. So really,
of what you're talking about.
Yeah, go ahead.
But like we're talking about, we don't want these leagues lasting for long periods of time. You know, we want the like periods that we have now where we can address the problems. And I know that a player in my team had a question. Kyle had a question. You know, is there a sort of form of graduation? Like, if an A team is going to be dominating all the other A teams, is there a graduation for them? Is there a graduation for certain players? How are we supposed to address players that are getting too good for the league, or that can be moved up into another role?
Sure. So this actually brings me back to one of the questions earlier in the podcast where we had discussed, what do I want to see for this program, right? So I talked about what I wanted to see first and where we're at now and what I'm feeling. So looking down the road about what I do want to see and what it's going to look like down the road and what I want to see is, I do want to see that after a certain amount of time that a number of players will have learned enough and stepped up their game to a point where they are playing at a level similar to us as coaches, maybe that like Onyx type level, right? And really, I think that's kind of the idea of when a player's graduated, right? So when they're playing and they're playing well and they're standing head and shoulders above the rest of the players around them and they're playing a lot like us, then, I think that if we have a conversation about that and we feel pretty good about that, and we go ahead and talk about, hey, this person is ready to step up, and whether it's still hang out and still participate in the LFG, or if they want to step up as a coach in some capacity and allow us to help some more people out, using everything that they've learned. That's what I want to see, right? Is I want to see a bunch of players go ahead and move up through that and have them reach that level, of play that I feel that we're at separately as coaches, that quality of play. I want to see them go ahead and get there, right? So that we can go ahead and, let some new players in who haven't had that opportunity yet. And then the thing that's nice for that player too, who has graduated, if they choose to go ahead and, they want to coach their own team or something like that, or assist with coaching a team, then I think that gives them an opportunity to go ahead and continue their growth as a player. Because I have no doubt that going ahead and teaching something and, going ahead and being a coach, it like makes your fundamentals so solid, right? Because you're constantly reminded of all these different things that you have to do, as a baseline, as a player, all these different things that you have to work on, and going ahead and like teaching a team who doesn't understand that and helping them understand how it all fits together helps you as an individual understand how, all of those things fit together, right? So, as far as like a team who's going ahead and dominating, if they were really head and shoulders above, I think it's something that we'll have to take on a case-by-case basis. And similarly, I think with a player, right, like we've done, where we've had Aramis and Z-Man and, players like that who we figured were too good to go ahead and participate as a player on one of those teams. It's a case-by-case basis where we have to talk about it and we have to look at that player's play. We have to look at their shots and their movement, but not only that, but, how do they understand the maps and the strategies and things like that? And once we feel like they have a pretty solid understanding of it, where that line is drawn, I guess, with discussion between us, then they're ready to move on.
And I think it's a good point that you made, that we've already had players that, have graduated in the sense that they were too good to become players, and now they fill other roles in the community, whether it be assistant coach or and that's a role that we like to give people because they can help with other teams, but we still have that ability to have one-on-one conversations with them as a coach to a player and let them develop as players. And that's the whole point, is that we're trying to have players develop into their own, rather than focusing on little things such as the win column. It's more about getting yourself into a position where you become a better Halo player overall and a better FPS player overall.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, and we're going to see, for example, how this preseason tourney ends up, because we're going to have the team who goes ahead and they're at the top of this bracket at the end. They won the preseason championship. And like I said, what we're going to do with them is we're going to go ahead and we're going to get a team of 4 coaches together who are then going to play that team in a best of 7. And, we had 14 teams at the start of the preseason, and we had that one team who rose above them all. And then we're going to go ahead, get the coach team together and play them. And presumably we'd go ahead and show them, what that next step looks like. So, no, we're playing 7. We're just going to play all 7, dude. Yeah. And I mean, there's no doubt that some of these higher level teams are pretty good. And, I was playing when I was scrimming against your team the other night, just, casually with whoever I had with me. It was like Brackus, Space, and like Rye or Coney or something like that. Me as a player, when we were having that conversation earlier about how much time you put into the game and how you spend that time, I know that right now I don't have the time that I want to put into the game. I don't have enough time to put into the game where I could have a consistently good shot. So the way that I have to play the game, I have to change it in order to do well. I have to play more conservatively. I have to play from power positions. I have to, go ahead and pick my fights. I won't challenge. I never pretty much these days challenge even an even fight because I don't want to risk it. I'll go ahead, and the only time that I take a fight is if I get the shot on someone first. I mean, I'm sure that Gary could go ahead and talk about that a little bit. Just today in the game today and what he saw from me, I pretty much will never take an even challenge. And even going ahead and playing against Sparkles the other night, they are a team who are a team in the program, but there is no doubt that they have some pretty solid fundamental skill, right? So even against that team, I wouldn't go ahead and challenge straight up 1v1s with those guys. And some of the guys on Vilify and like NTT and stuff, they're a bunch of freaks, man. I wouldn't want to go ahead and go play up on those guys. Now I can go ahead and I can play them and do a good job of it if I go ahead and pick my gameplay to be conservative and go ahead and use my knowledge of the game against them, what they don't currently have quite yet. But some of these teams are pretty good, and they'll go ahead and if we're not careful and if we're not using our experience to our advantage, there's no doubt that they would play right there with us.
And I think Gary had to step off for a second, but
yeah.
Do you before we I want to go to this next question. You ready to go to the next question, or are you?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good.
So
Sir Munchie,
did we answer whatever that question was? I don't remember.
I
think so.
Yeah, I think we hit it right on the head there.
Yeah,
and this question is actually in relation to into what you were just saying about you playing. Sir Munchie says, how does Brooks set up his aimbot?
Dude, I don't. Trust me. If you I don't stream my like POV these days, but if you saw my POV, you'd be just like, man, how's this guy even a coach? Shot is crap, dude. Trust me, if I was using an aimbot, you would know it. So it would be a lot better than it is now.
There was a lot of other questions in the chat here that was going on. Let me just kind of pull it up.
And 1 second, I just want to address we had a guy. We've had actually 2 people come to the chat already, asking how to become a part of the program. And right now we don't have like a very easy way to get people in the program, because we have to obviously add them, let everyone know, hey, they're here and stuff like that. And I just want to say that we're working on a website that will help streamline that, and it will allow us to make it a lot easier for players to join. And we should have that running in a couple weeks, which will be really awesome. But right now, if you're watching the stream and you want to know how to join, you can always look down at my YouTube channel, at the YouTube channel underneath. That'll give you a link to all the bracket matches played so far, and that you can watch those, get familiarize yourself with the league itself, and then from there, if you want to whisper me on Twitch, or if you want to message the Cookie Says Hi on Reddit, we'll definitely get you into the program. And
yeah,
it's
Gary,
just not there's not a very easy way to go right now.
Could you put that into the Twitch chat? Just throw my username in there right now for whoever's there hanging out. Okay, awesome, cool. I don't have the chat in front of me, but currently that's the case. You'll PM me. I'll PM you a Google form that we use for just like last rush of recruiting for subs and stuff like that. And then we'll go ahead and there's a link in there that you could go ahead and use it to join the Discord and start to party up with us and have a good time.
Just looking at some other questions. And now you said you had a question that was given to you, Brooks, right? You said.
I listed a few of them earlier. Yeah.
What was that?
He's so scared.
I had a few of them. That were just like things that people passed on to me. Okay. Let me see here.
Why don't you pull them up? It's all right. We can just pull them up. I'm pulling up some more that I have.
Quick hits. So some quick hits, I guess, are they asked me Burger King, McDonald's, or Wendy's. The answer to which would be Wendy's.
Yeah, there we go. It's pretty
Wendy's
simple
for me.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that the quality is better. Frosties are solid. And when you ever go to McDonald's, people are not happy to be there. Ice cream, the McFlurry machine is always broken. And
they don't even know how to make a coffee.
What Brooks gets every time he goes to fast food. He's hitting up.
Trust me, dude. I cannot tell you the last time that I've been to Burger King or McDonald's or Wendy's. It had to have been at least a couple of months now.
That's not that long ago, by the way.
Some people eat it every day.
I
had to go to Wendy's and beefy burritos.
It's probably been about
10
10 years for me.
That long?
Yeah, man.
Jesus.
I don't eat fast food.
That's crazy, dude.
You're about to,
So yeah, another quick hit is Limits asked me if I would go ahead and get rid of an appendage for an outing with T Swift. So now I guess what they're talking about is an appendage, right? So if we're talking about, because I mean an appendage is like any part that like I guess protrudes from your body, right? So like I don't know that I get rid of like a whole pinky finger.
Just get rid of the toe, man.
Don't be a
put a sock on it. You're fine.
If you're gonna get rid of something, get rid of something. You know, don't go. I'm gonna get rid of it from my upper knuckle to my fingernail. It's gonna be gone.
Yeah, just like the nub.
Yeah,
like right there.
No, you see, no. There's a stipulation. It has to be the whole finger.
Yeah, no, and I mean honestly, like probably not. I'm very much a fan of myself and being all healthy and all that. And the T Swift thing, like we all joke around, but it is definitely. A lot of people think it's significantly more serious than it actually is. It starts and nearly ends with, a majority of the music. It just happens that she's, generally conventionally attractive.
So you're actually a really big fan of her music too. I thought it was just because she was attractive. So you actually like the music.
No, that's the smallest part of it. I really enjoy listening to.
So you like her for
music,
her,
like the old stuff and the new stuff. Yeah, the music is nice. I mean, the thing that I like about the music is that, I mean, it's nice to listen to. It's just, I don't know what the word like the hearing equivalent of like aesthetic appeal is. But I like listening to it. It sounds good. But also like the words and the lyrics, about experiences. Especially a lot of her old stuff is very much about, life and, its challenges and, the different experiences that people have. I think that's really cool.
His Taylor Swift is my Troy Bolton, It's
this freaking guy, man.
Oh my god! I've been watching that over and over again. I have that on my Spotify. If anybody's been watching my streams recently, there's it's been a dedicated High School Musical streams. But and I just have to address something that Volunteer said in the chat. Why is he says Chick-fil-A is the optic of fast food, and I have to strongly disagree that Raising Cane's is the optic of.
What is it? That's like chicken, right?
Yeah. Oh.
They don't have those in South Florida, but I've seen
Raising Cane's. That's the place to go.
Yeah, I don't eat chicken sandwiches from places like that.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A is pretty awesome. But yeah. So just the two last questions that I had that people sent to me before I had them direct to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was from Alex on Guilty Sparkles, actually, and he was like, hey Brooks, man, there's like this community that I think he's a part of or that he saw. And basically the community has like a shit ton of people in it and everyone's really active. And, there are, let me just bring it up in front of me so I can make sure that I touch on what we had discussed.
It's the fighting community, right?
Yeah, it's like a fighting game Discord that, is huge and has an active community and a ton of coaches who'd like to help players out, community nights, brackets, and a bunch of stuff. And he was like, he had some suggestions basically of things that they had that, we might be able to use. So, one of those things was like a feedback channel, a coaching channel, a rules channel, and a like memes channel. So the coaching channel, the feedback channel is, specifically for providing feedback to the administrators of the server and the program to go ahead and let us know, the improvements that they think that we can make, kind of like when I fielded for the feedback and things like that. So basically a channel dedicated to that, to which I said, that's obviously something that wouldn't hurt. I don't think that it's that big of a deal to go ahead and set up like a DM thing. But I could also see the benefit of a channel where if one person has like one type of feedback, then someone else can go ahead and jump in off of that and like piggyback off of what that person said, where you don't get that benefit from individual DMs because only I would see it and whoever else would see it, right? So I think that that's something we can do, a coaching channel where we we talked in the coaching office a little bit about setting up like an analyzation channel or something where we'll go ahead and do like film analysis, or if anyone had any like constructive Halo questions that we can go ahead and pop in and answer those. So maybe we'll go ahead and set up like a channel for that. A rules channel. We go ahead and like I kept the few rules that we have in Welcome, kind of with the, I guess, atmosphere that I've tried to instill in the program and feel like I've done a pretty good job of so far, you know, where we're all, you know, pretty positive and loving each other and having a good time. You know, I don't want to go ahead and make this like long convoluted list of rules. You know, I'm going ahead, and I think that with that sense of wanting to instill some positivity in like a familial environment, you can't go ahead and like instill that with a list of rules. You know, you just kind of have to have a baseline, like, hey, this is what's up, this is what we're about, don't be a douchebag or else there are going to be problems. And then really I don't want to have any more now than we currently have in Welcome as far as that goes. And as far as like a memes channel, this is something I've actually talked about, or not necessarily like memes specifically, but like a channel where, you know, just kind of like no holds barred, we can talk about anything or whatever, you know, and like not worry about it. So the thing with that is that I talk about this with Archimedes a little bit, just because, and he said, you know, that he's talked to other people about it who thought it would be a good idea. So it's probably a good idea for me to just address this in general, right? So at the end of the day, this is, you know, I want us to have that sense of community, like I said, and I think that we currently do have that. But that being said, I don't want this to be a community. This is a program dedicated to going ahead and helping players get better. And I think that the community environment is important, and I want to have that love there throughout the program. But it's not a community, right? Like, it's not going to be a gaming community. It's not like a league or anything like that. And when you go ahead and you start adding peripheral things like that, that no longer have any connection to why we're here, you know, that is something that is a, you know, it's a slippery slope, right? And you know, I don't want us to have anything like that where we go ahead and we are having something connecting, you know, besides our like interpersonal relationships with one another, but you know, outside of the game. I want it to be about the game. You know, at the end of the day, it's about the game and getting better and having a good time together through the game. And I mean, part of that is my wishes for the program. I think that part of that is a personal bias because, like I alluded to earlier, me leaving my last Spartan company, and those are people that I played with since the beginning of Halo 5 up until the end of December, early spring this year, where, you know, they went ahead and after we got the Achilles helmet, you know, we started to branch off and talk about playing different games together. And then in that Discord server, there was like a channel for all these different games. And, you know, it became very, very scattered and diluted. And there are a number of people who went ahead and stayed, but there are also a great number of people who were a core part of that experience for me who are no longer there. Like the two dudes who started the Spartan company, you know, they're not really involved there anymore for that same reason. You know, it just became something different than it was intended for. And I think that my personal experience with that might have me be a little more sensitive to this issue than I otherwise might be. But between that and wanting it to be about the program at the end of the day, I'm not looking to instill anything like that anytime soon.
And I fully agree with you. You know, that's the thing that happens with a lot of communities is that they lose focus of like why they were there in the first place. And we add, and right now we don't have a lot of channels, and that's a great thing is because it keeps.
Well, you guys don't anyway.
Yeah, like you have a ton because you're in all of them, and I mean I have more than an average person too. But we have, if you want to talk about memes, that's why we have the general channel, you know, and like stuff like that. And we don't want to be adding a whole bunch of channels that that don't pertain to the actual program itself, because that causes people to lose focus of like why they're in the Discord channel. And if we have a whole bunch of channels and we start splitting our community or, you know, the program too much, then it becomes, you know, it becomes something different, and that's not what we want. We want this to be focused on us getting better and us like just focusing on the program itself rather than try to make a large community. In the end, we're not trying to make a community that has 1,000 players. We're trying to make a community that has 50 to 100 players that we can focus on a one-on-one level with each coach. And if we have too many channels or we try growing into what we're not, then we're going to see our program die. And that's the last thing we want to see. We want to see a close, tight-knit thing that can continue on where people will be interested. But we shouldn't have people in the Discord server that aren't players or coaches. Like this, like our Discord server should never become an LFG server. You know, we shouldn't have people coming in and just being on the server to look for a group. We should have players coming in to become a part of a team, to become a sub, and to be involved in the program, not a place to use it as a medium to grab players to have a team of 4 with whenever they're running HCS.
Sure. Yep, that's exactly right. So, and I mean, it's an Archer, I mean, with his experience career-wise, you know, he can go ahead and talk about how this is, even though we're not like a business, right? We're not like taking in money and like doing all the business type things. You know, a business is an organization, you know, like we kind of have a very small organization here. And if, you know, when you have a business like that, 2 very essential things are focus. You need to know what you're doing, and you need to do it well, and you need to have vision, right? You need to know, like, you have to, if it's the same vision that you had from the start, you have to keep that in mind. And those 2 things kind of go hand in hand, right? So we have to go ahead and make sure that we remain focused on our vision, right? We want to go ahead and we need to keep track of why we're here. Like you said, very well said. You know, we have to keep track of why we're here and what it's all about.
I can agree with that. No,
Go
I
ahead.
agree. I agree with that. 100%. Go ahead, Gary.
And we're not saying that we're not going to have fun things. Like we'll make channels every once in a while, and we'll have fun things. Like maybe we'll have. I was thinking about maybe having a dog tournament where we have a little like a week-long tournament where everyone posts their dogs, and we find out who has the cutest dog. You know, something like that. But that's not going to become a long-term thing. You know, that's something that will be there for a week that people can participate in.
I have a cat.
But we're not gonna create long-term things that don't involve the program. And that's why I think the small list of channels that we have, you know, the general, for people that want to talk about off-topic stuff or just anything in general can go there. We have the LFGs, so if anybody's looking for HCS, they can go there. Scrim's looking for subs, streaming. And then we have a list for current teams. I mean, that's really all you really need in the channel. I think you can get anything that you want from there. And if we feel that something needs to be added, we'll add it. But we're not trying to make something we're not trying to make the Discord bigger than it is. And we have to focus on what's there. Yeah, and it's something that's not. You know,
and I mean, go ahead.
It's just we have to focus on. We have to, like you said, we have a vision, and we have to keep that vision straight. And like we can't divert ourselves and let the tunnel become filled with holes. You know, we have to keep it straight.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's just the last thing that I'm going to say about it, just to make sure that I guess this point is clear. You know, I guess in the Discord server, right, it's not like we have, you know, I go ahead and I work with all of the coaches, you know, to go ahead and get ideas for the program and try and run things the best that we can. And I try and delegate a little bit here and there, which admittedly I haven't been good at that at the start of the program. I'm getting a little bit better with letting some of these guys step up and handle it like they've, you know, wanted to help out and stuff. But, you know, at the end of the day, this is kind of my thing, and I don't like playing this card, and I don't play this card often. But if I need to go ahead and like lay down the law for something that I feel strongly about, I am comfortable doing that. And I think that a majority of you, you know, in your personal perceptions of me and how you hold me and your, you know, I guess graces, right?
My heart.
Even if you disagree, your heart. Yeah, right. So even if you disagree with maybe some of my decisions, I think that that's something that I really appreciate, is that I know that if I go ahead and there's something that I feel strongly about, if it's something that you guys maybe disagree with to an extent, you have continued to go ahead and back me up on that and respect that. And as far as the general chat goes, now that we're talking about, you know, a memes chat where it's like a free-for-all, anything goes, you can talk about anything, I wanted to make it clear that the general chat is not that. I don't want to see it now devolve and watch things explode in general now. And watch some of you smart asses now who are watching this like go screw off.
But like,
the
feel
general
free
chat,
to have conversations, but don't.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I mean, what we've been doing now with the general chat has been perfect. I couldn't, you know, want anything different for that. So let's just like not do anything different now that we've talked about it, I guess. That's what I'm saying. So, yeah, Nate, I think that Gary and I are good in replying to that. I don't know if you have anything to talk about that bit with.
No, I'm good. You guys said quite a bit, and that's great. I mean, I hope that clarifies a lot for everybody. But I do agree with the channels thing. You don't want to have too many. You're gonna start like losing, focus as to what you want to be doing, and you think I actually can hold it into relation to like the Halo with matchmaking. They start coming out with a ton and a half of playlists, and then you got less and less people that you can play with, and there's a lot. There's it's just too much, and then they start finding out that, hey, all these other extra playlists you don't really need. This is the focus, and it's similar to that. It's similar to that, and you don't want to dilute everything. Hold on one second. I do have another question. If you want to continue with that, give me 1 sec. I'm pulling it up here. It jumped out.
Keep hammering them out.
Man, where is it? Is there a possibility of a 4-team playoff? The bottom 2 teams of each division play for the 4th spot.
Wait a second.
This is what he wrote.
Can you go ahead?
Is there a possibility of a 4-team playoff? I think he meant the top 2 teams of each division play for the 4th spot. I'm assuming that's what he means by that. Oh, no.
What I was thinking was that the top 2 of the B team and the bottom 2 of the A team would play against each other. Is what I was thinking. Is what he meant for relegation.
Yeah. I think that's what he meant. You're right.
I mean, therefore, there's a possibility
if
of
that's
2
the
B
case,
teams going up to A instead of
one.
I guess is there going to be a playoff in general? That would be a good question.
Like I said, I think that the closest thing that we're getting to like an end of season playoff type thing is that at the end of the season, the rankings aren't established by the season record. Once the season is done, we will have the top 2 teams in the A team play, the bottom 2 teams in the A team play, and the top 2 teams in the B team play. And I think that essentially is our playoff, right? And if we're talking about the possibility of multiple B teams moving on into the A division, I mean, maybe we could do that. The worst A team will go ahead and they'll play the best B team, and then maybe we can talk about the possibility of the second lowest A team playing the second highest B team.
The way that I was thinking of it was
maybe, but
the 2 bottom A teams would play each other. Then the winner of that match would get to choose the B team that they would want to play from the 2 B teams that are left over. So then you'd have 2 relegation matches similar to how they do it in Pro League. And then
can you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
So you have the A teams play against each other. So the winner of that match will decide which B team from relegation they want to play. So let's say there might be a B team that's higher and that has a better record, but they want to play the one with the lower record, but they want to play that team. They have the option to, and that's something that we'll discuss down the road, whether we want to have 2 B teams moving up to A team that have a possibility of that happening. And it's a very real possibility that neither B team wins, and that we still have the same B league and the same A league when it comes to next season.
Yep. Sure. Yeah.
So.
So I mean, I guess I think that as I understood the question and as we understood the question, I think that's as much as I guess we could say about it at the moment.
Nice.
That we'll look into the possibility of maybe 2 B teams going ahead and moving up. Because I don't see the harm in that. It's an extra game played. And if one of those B teams beats that A team, regardless of where they were seeded, I guess, it kind of shows us what we need to see to go ahead and make moves, right? So really, I'm not opposed to that at all. I think that's a good idea. Because if that second A team belongs in that division, they should be able to hang against, whatever B team's in there. So.
Totally Texan had a question in the chat. Have you guys thought of making all new teams for future seasons? As current teams are broken up, coaches and students are different, and it helps learn things. So he's talking about having teams split up at the end of the season and creating new teams.
So quick note, because I actually remember when I was reading those things earlier, one of those questions was not addressed, and that was also from Tex, and it was a great discussion that I had with him. He provided me some feedback that I thought was really valuable, and I wanted to bring that up. Is that just talking about the sub process a little bit right now. For the preseason, it's been the case that 3/4 of a team would need to go ahead and show up be available for a game time for a game to go on, and we would use a sub as needed. So now that being said, as far as how that sub was picked, there has been some struggles with that. Not like a ton, but a little bit, where certain players think that they can call, like look for subs themselves, or like get players from other teams, or there were players who weren't really informed about that process, which it's not their fault. I think that we could have done a better job of going ahead and just like making that public knowledge, which I don't feel like we cared to, because it's almost the end of the preseason anyway. But as far as like getting a sub, right, it's the coach's responsibility at the end of the day. That's what it would have been up until now. And what Tex had said is that there was times where we would go ahead and we'd go to look for a sub, and multiple people would volunteer, or someone on the team who wasn't playing and was the reason that we were looking for a sub ended up being free. So we had that person on the sub list who would go ahead and set aside time in their day. They were like, hey, I'm free. And they went ahead and made sure that they weren't doing anything that night. But then we did not do a job that we needed to do in communicating with them the whole way, and let them know later in the day, like, oh, hey, they just hit us up and said that they would be able to make the game tonight. Keeping them posted on that. So then it gets to be approaching game time, and they're wondering if they're still playing. And, that's just really like shitty of us to not have like kept them in the loop on that. So that's something that we'll go ahead and we'll talk about, to be sure, moving forward, is that we'll just have to communicate well with the subs through those processes to make sure that they are up to date on that information. And if we are not, or we are currently looking for a sub, or if we would like them to hang out and be available or not, and like what those circumstances are, I think that we just need to do a better job of going ahead and keeping in communication with them.
I think that problem will dissipate when we
I think that there will certainly be less of that.
Well, that's what I was just going to say.
I think that'll be less, but it's just something we have to keep in the back of our mind.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you're adding 2 subs to each team, so that's going to actually, I think, really alleviate many of these issues anyway.
Many for sure, but like I said, even if it's just like a one-time thing where both subs weren't available and we had a peripheral sub who was going to be subbing, this is something that we need to think about. Oh, yeah. Need to keep in mind.
I've been in that position many times, so.
Yeah.
And that's true. That there was, as far as the communication factor as to the coach doing it or not, even myself wasn't aware. So I just reach out to you and be like, "Hey, man, we got to get this going now." I mean, at that moment in time, we technically were sharing coaches. One coach was Japan. He couldn't really. He's a part-time coach essentially, from what he explained. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the other person, he Z-Man. Just wasn't. Yeah, he just not Z-Man. The other guy. On my X-Man.
You're talking about before.
Yeah. He just wasn't around at all.
Bastards, dude. Yeah. Poor Japanther got screwed with that. I was like, Japanther's like, yeah, I could do this part-time thing if someone else wants to go halvesies with me. I was like, all right, I got you, dog. And I gave him this person, and that person just did nothing. And Japanther has been a wonderful soul.
Oh, he's awesome, man. I love him. Yeah. He's awesome. But
great guy.
Yeah, so I mean, I just kind of decided to take it upon myself to reach out. I didn't even know about that too. So that's. I know you said because it was just the preseason anyway, it didn't really matter. But it's good to kind of bring that out here on the podcast to let all these other guys know, hey, listen, this is the way it is going to go. And the coaches should communicate that as well.
Right, and we can fix that problem by making the looking for subs channel, making it coaches. So only subless players can talk and only coaches can talk. But
that's an awesome idea.
Do that. I'm gonna go do that right now.
But my problem is me, I work 8 hours a day, so my team wants a sub for a day, and I can't talk on the Discord for 8 hours. So,
yeah, but I mean,
you can always have other coaches to do it and stuff like that. But in the end, and then there's another thing that I want to address when we come to subs is that you don't get to be picky and choosy with your subs. Okay, this isn't a league, and this is something that certain players they have to realize. This isn't a league about winning. This is a league about getting better. And just because there's one sub that's better that you want them to play with your team, if they're not available, then you're not playing with them. If there's another sub available, and then it's something that we want to do is to let these subs become more active in the community, because it's hard for subs to keep that. And I applaud every sub that is active in this community and does a lot of and keeps that LFG going and is playing with players. sometimes more often than certain players on the team, because there's not a lot for them to do. They can only sub when there's a bracket match coming on, and if they're and we notice that we notice the players that aren't on teams that are playing consistently for everyone, and we're eventually going to find a spot for you on a team where you can have a more active role, and we'll definitely address players that are becoming AFK more often in upcoming time. But we're keeping you in mind, and if you're not on a team, just wait, keep active. Sure. And just wait.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And I mean, first of all, yes, thank you to all of the subs who have been ahead and they've stuck it out for the time that we've been here, because I've talked about making more opportunities available for the subs to go ahead and be a little bit more a part of the structured program, right? So bringing those players in, like 5th and 6th players on teams, that way they're getting team practices, they're dedicated for a team to know when games are, and they're ready to step up if the need be. There are certain teams like my team where, shout out to freaking Rick tonight, serious killer. He actually got married today. So shout out to Rick. He went ahead and he got married today. Rye was out there. And now, obviously, Rick's going to be a little busy these next couple of weeks with the honeymoon and everything. So, that's a position then where we need that 5th or 6th sub, because now I have Ace on the team who will go ahead and fill that role that Killer was playing. He's going to be our 4th, for the foreseeable future until Rick gets back. And, it's nice having those subs, around in general as they have been. And as far as opportunities get more involved, we're putting 5th and 6th players on teams, dedicated subs for them to be involved in the practices and things. I talked about a dedicated sub scrim night where they have the opportunity to go ahead and play with one another, get that, structured team play. Maybe we can go ahead and have 2 coaches volunteer for that one day a week, where we can hop in like we do for a league match, and we'll just coach 4 subs, right? That's something that I think will be great for them. For the peripheral subs that are not on teams, that gives them that opportunity that they for sure wouldn't have otherwise. Unless a team didn't have their 5th or 6th sub for a game. And for the peripheral subs, I think that it would be nice to have 1 or 2 teams hold an open practice every week and allow other players from other teams and the peripheral subs to go ahead and jump into that open practice and get coaching from different coaches and stuff like that, which I think is a neat idea. So really, they've done a really good job, some of them, in sticking it out, despite not having nearly as much, to stay for as they're going to have moving forward.
I think another cool thing too, and I was thinking about it. You said you might be, you possibly going to be adding 2 more subs to each team. That's 3. That's 6 guys. That's 3 on 3. So technically, the team could scrim with each other.
A little bit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on the coaches and what they want to do and things like that. You have some teams like you guys who have 2 coaches where you can go ahead and you could play 4 feasibly within your own team, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, for sure. That definitely opens up that possibility. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited for all this.
What was the original question? I feel like there was something that I made a mental note to come back to.
The original question was, have you thought of making all new teams in the future seasons?
Yes. There was I thought there was another sub thing still. Okay, so about the teams, right? And restructuring teams, I think that what we will continue to do, I think that there's value in having the players stay together and, work as a team, understand their team strategies, and continue to grow together. Now, that being said, I think that we will go ahead and we will see certain players maybe need a little more help on one thing, that the rest of the team doesn't need help on, or, otherwise they might have some, like we said, different players have different things that they need to go ahead and work on, for themselves. And if we feel like that would be better accomplished by them being on a different team, I think that will not necessarily trades, because there's not negotiating deals, but I think at the end of the season, we'll go ahead and we'll, all the coaches will talk. We'll talk about our teams. We'll talk about each of our players and where they're at. And we'll see if there's any benefit potentially for not all the players to be shuffled around, but for a couple of the players to go ahead and move to different teams.
Don't be surprised if it happens. Players, I think for sure there's going to be some players moving, whether it be an A league player moving to a B league player, because let's say, I know there's players in the A league that want to take over a role where they become more the head guy, where they're more the in-game leader, and they want to do stuff like that. I think it's more beneficial for them to move over to a B league team where they're able to
fulfill that role
considerably better than the players below them, but they're able to focus on that aspect of their game because they want to grow that part, and it's easier for them to do that in that team than it is on the team that they're currently on. And don't be surprised if we see players move around at the end of the season. Our seasons aren't too long. I think the first one's going to be a month and a half. Not very long.
Yeah, not longer than a month and a half, I'd say,
including playoffs and stuff. So it's so just keep posted. Right now it's obviously our first season, so we're trying to figure stuff out, and the coaches are talking to each other quite regularly about what we want to see the program grow into. And Brooks obviously has his path set, and we know what we want, and we'll definitely figure out where we're going.
Perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else you guys want to add to that?
No, I don't think so.
So, Brooks, I have a question for you. Very serious question.
Yeah.
Do you prefer girls on Tinder that give you rides?
Don't bust my balls about that, man. Need groceries.
You a Tinder guy, Brooks?
He's a Tinder guy only to get rides.
As of yesterday, I had become a Tinder guy. Yes.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Like that, you just get rides on Tinder.
Hey, man, different strokes for different folks. People have different ideas of what a first date or otherwise hangout should look like. I don't see why I can't be taking my ass to a grocery store.
I gotta go get some egg whites. Can you take me to the store?
There's a thing called Uber, right?
I know, right?
Hey, man, desperate times.
Amazon delivers groceries too. You could have just had Amazon deliver your groceries.
Yeah, don't they
Amazon
have
delivers groceries?
They have a bunch of
Amazon
places that
Prime
deliver
now.
groceries. What's that other one? There's a bunch of them that deliver groceries now. I'm sure you could have did that.
Yeah, my mom sent me a link about this. Instacart.
I wouldn't do them because I think they upcharge a lot.
Do they?
Groceries.
Postmates.
I think they add like 50 cents for each item, and then they also get you that fee. Then you also have to tip. It becomes expensive at the end,
Yeah. I mean, Tinder works too, I guess, or Grindr, or whatever you prefer.
Considerably attractive to have a girl, come out.
Are you saying that I should have a problem on Tinder, Gary?
No. I'm saying I might have a problem. I know for sure Archer's gonna have a problem.
I'm gonna have a problem. Speak for yourself, bro. Brad Pitt looks like me. Okay.
How old is Brad Pitt?
That's good, man.
Exactly, and he's still good looking.
He's still good looking. That dude's ripped, bro.
All right. I'm just gonna refill my bottle quick.
No problem. Gary, do you have any other questions that you have on your list here? Or the chat, if you guys have any questions while he's getting a drink, definitely post them in here. Questions, statements, anything you want.
I have like a huge list of questions, but I didn't want to go over all of them because I didn't think they were all necessary.
We could always do and I was thinking about this while we're doing this, maybe like a monthly podcast, or you know what I mean, something where we talk for a few hours, go over a bunch of things that maybe you held on to for questions and stuff, or whatever you want to do. It can be more of a frequent thing that we can do to kind of go over these questions and stuff. This is great. I mean, we've been going on for almost 2 hours right now.
We're on an hour 48. Okay, so just something I wanted to address. I mean, it's not really a question, but if anybody ever feels that you're being threatened, or if you're having problems with anybody in the server, just either bring it up to your coach, bring it up to Brooks, or you can try always talking to that player, but never let anything boil up. I know from a personal experience from players in the thing, just make sure that you're open with the players in the server, and that if you're having problems with certain players, it's usually a miscommunication or something of that nature. So just be open with it. Never let anything boil over, because that's when we're going to cause problems. And in the end, we want this to be a positive environment. And if if we're having negativity or toxicity coming into the environment, we want to know about that so we can address it. And, and go over to that player one-on-ones, because it's very important for us to keep this community a community that is a program that it's very geared towards positivity and being friendly with each other, not something where we're spewing hate. And that's the last thing we want to see happen in this community.
Oh, of course, man. Of
course. And I think that, it's important for us in establishing what we want to do. For people to learn, they need to be in an environment where they feel safe and comfortable and having a good time and they're engaged. And it's not possible to have that with that negativity, right? So, I mean, there's that aspect of it. And then there's also the other aspect where, you look at other places right now in the community, like our Halo from a little bit now, it's kind of a shit show compared to at the start of H5. When everyone is new, like H5 is new and everyone's excited about the game, and all the guys who maybe won't play H5 through its whole life cycle, they were still involved, having a good time. And now we have like everyone left who they're either trying to carry like a positive, constructive mindset, like I know I try and do. I see Fender, having good conversation on Reddit all the time, always like constructive, thoughtful posts. So they have people like that, and then you have the other side where everyone is like toxic or like bashing 343 or, in just a negative, not useful way.
Rex, you're going to become the 343 of this league. People are going to start yelling at you.
Hey man,
there's going to be a memes channel dedicated to you.
You're acting like that is exclusively in the future and hasn't happened already. But yeah, I mean, just to go ahead and like piggyback on that, right? So as far as like talking about problems and like people problems and stuff, whether it's problems with other people in the league and getting that handled, or like if you just need to like talk about life or something like that, whether it's just, hey, my life's getting kind of crazy right now with this and this, I need to go ahead and I need to step back from my team. Or if you just need to have like a friend-to-friend conversation about something, or you just want me to like listen and know what's going on, or if you want my advice on something, like, I go ahead and I extend that hand to you, and, it sounds like a little weird and it probably doesn't help that I'm like 21 years old or whatever, but just for me personally, I've lived a lot of life for someone who's 21 years old. And I'm pretty comfortable talking about, a wide variety of things. So, just extending that. And I'm sure that my coaches, I know that these guys are some pretty awesome dudes, and all the other guys in the program are pretty sweet guys. Freaking love Nate. Nate's awesome. Gary's all right, I guess. But I mean, just like feel comfortable, talking to us as people and friends, if you need that, right? I know that certain people, for whatever reason or circumstance, maybe don't have as many people around them IRL to go ahead and talk about these types of things. So, if you wanted to go ahead and like extend those feelings or whatever, like talk about stuff, feel free to hit us up just as bros, not as coaches or teammates or anything, but your friends.
He also expects a ride though. Right after that, you have to give him a ride to the grocery store.
No, man, I think I'm covered for a little while at least. Thanks. Thanks, man.
I just wanted to talk about something about my own team, and it's I want to applaud because it's a hard thing because everyone on my team is considerably older than me. They're all in their like mid to late 20s, and I'm obviously not even 20 yet. So it's
You're not 20 yet?
No, dude. I'm
baby.
I'm a baby.
Oh man.
But I mean, they still listen to me, and like they take my criticism. I think it's very cool that that the Halo community skews older, and to have somebody like me that can come in, and I'm a good player, but I'm not very old yet, and sometimes it's hard for people to listen to somebody that's younger than them tell them something, and so far it's like I feel like they've done a great job of that, and that's another thing. It's like never take anything that is said to you personal in the program when it comes to feedback. None of the coaches intend to be hurtful when they're talking to you about your gameplay, and if you're a player that needs to have more positive, constructive feedback rather than focusing on the negatives, let us know, and we'll work on developing a one-on-one with you that's more positive geared. Because I know that's a thing with some players on my team, that if I could go over what they did good in the match rather than what they did bad in the match, they're going to learn a lot more. But there's some players where I can, talk about what they did bad and like what they need to do to be better in that regard, and they'll take that just as well. And then it's a thing that coaches have to learn, is how to balance that. It's a juggling act sometimes, but and that's why I think that's a good thing.
I mean, I think that's like that anywhere too.
For extended period of time.
I think that's like that anywhere too. I mean, even in real life, and even in my job. I mean, I manage a group of. I have a bunch of employees underneath me, and when I go to coach them, some need to be coached certain ways, and others don't. And some you can be more straightforward. Other ones you have to kind of have that create a positivity sandwich. You give a compliment, you tell them what they should work on, and then follow up with another compliment. I mean, it's okay though. I mean, and it's okay. Like they'll learn that, and then but you got to be open too. If you feel like you're. I know myself, if I felt like Brooks was like coming at me, I'd be like, bro, why are you coming at me? But you got to say that, and I think he'd be like, oh, I'm not trying to do that, man. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to help you out. But it's all a learning experience anyway with everybody, I think. So even with the coaches. Sure. So, but I agree. Don't take it in a negative manner. If you feel like there's something going on, talk about it to them. Talk about it to anybody, like any of the guys, open. Everybody's ears are open. For that.
Yeah, for sure.
And totally.
I mean, go ahead.
I mean, if you have something to add, I was going to go totally text and had a question in the chat, but if you have something to add in that regard.
I was just going to say, if you're doing something where I'm like coming at you, you probably did something pretty serious.
Oh, I see how it is.
I'm not too not too aggressive.
Versus victim blaming.
Yeah. I'm victim blaming a little bit. Like, yeah, you deserve that. I got on Lexi the other night, man. Who were we playing? We were scrimming Fury. They were Taskmasters at the time. Lexi was just killing me all night, and I'm just like, and it was rough too. It was that like perfect storm of shit where I like didn't get to work out for 2 days or something, so I already came in like not feeling good, and the whole team was doing stupid shit, but it was just like not a good time, and I finished that night, and we went ahead and we like wrapped things up. And then the day after, I was just like, dudes, I was on your freaking case last night, man. It's rare, but it happens.
And I guess in that same regard, totally text and ask, what's your biggest struggle that coaches have seen, when coaching? Like, what's the hardest thing that you've dealt with when you've coached?
For me, I think that the most challenging thing is, I think that there's a couple of things, right? I think that one of the main things is that I don't have nearly as much time with my team as I would like, because I know all of the things that we need to work on. And especially when you're working on your fundamentals, that's one of those things that takes more time, right? And I would love to go ahead and play Octo all day with my guys, every day, at least a little bit every day. And that's not really feasible to go ahead and get on with everyone at a certain time every day. And so I have to go ahead and I have to compromise by just relying on them to, play with each other and other people in the program to go ahead and be disciplined about doing those things on their own. Another really challenging thing, hold on, just give me a second. Gary, if you want to say something, I'll try and think of what the other thing was.
I guess the big thing for me was, like in regard that I don't have enough time, I like to go over film with my team when I can. So I've done it with SVT and I've done it with Fawn. I haven't been able to do it with Smarter yet, which is something I'm working towards getting done. But going over one-on-one film with people, I think is so beneficial, and I haven't been able to do enough of it, and I find it really challenging to set up the time aside. Because like I have to, and when I want to coach like that, when I want to go over film on a one-on-one level, going over 3 or 4 maps, that takes 2 hours, And,
yeah, for sure.
And that's 2 hours where I'm not playing. And like I still want to play Halo, It's like I'm still a player that wants to improve his own gameplay, so it's hard for me to set aside 2 hours to go over film. Though it is very beneficial. I mean, I've seen SVT. I just want to say SVT. SVT gets down on himself a lot during games, and he has become 3 times the player since the beginning of this.
Yep. I've seen him freaking grow.
SVT.
You know? I mean, I don't see him every day, but I think it makes it even stand out more that I get to see him at the start and what he's playing like now. Much better.
I mean, he had. We were playing Regret the other day against a decent squad that was definitely calling out, and he went 14-1, and I was in that game with him. He did better than I did, you know. And it's
dude.
And he takes the lessons very seriously, and he listens. Like on Fathom, he's always picking up the power weapons, whether it be a light rifle, a VR, or TAC Magnum. If he sees it, he's grabbing it and he's making the use of it. And even though he doesn't have as much good motor skills as other players in the A League, he uses his positioning and he uses his weapons to his advantage to even out the playing field. And he's done a very good job about it. And awesome. You know, and it's great to see that. And that's what I want. I want to be able to develop because, you know, obviously other players like Fawn doesn't have that problem where he has the motor skills. Like he has the motor skills of an Onyx player, in my opinion, but I have to work on other things with him. Or like Smarter, who has very good motor skills, and Kyle, who has very good motor skills. I have to work on different things with them that they need to work on. So it's hard to it's hard to pinpoint those things, personalize a coaching session with them, and then have it available to them. And I've been able to do it with Fender, SVT, and Fawn, but I haven't been able to do it with all the players on my team yet.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, that's tough too, because even when you go ahead and you set aside the time for one session with one player, you know, that doesn't fix all their problems. You know, you see certain things that, you know, you have to see how they react then to that feedback that you give them. And you have to go ahead and like make readjustments to that initial feedback that you already had. So for each player, you're talking about 2 or 3 sessions to make, you know, a considerable amount of progress. That's something that takes a lot of time.
I mean, personally, if you're sitting down and you're having an actual one-on-one with somebody, for me, I think that they would be more appreciative of it. So that's pretty cool that you're doing that. You know, you could maybe plan out maybe 1 a month or 2 a month if you could.
I'm trying to make it bi-weekly and I've been trying to do it for people in the general. Like I've had a stream where I've let people submit films to me and I go over films with anybody because I realize that, you know, everyone wants to at least have a one-on-one every once in a while. So I have that available. And if anybody ever wants to go over film,
that's cool.
Just send me a link and I'll go over film with you one day. It might not be soon because I obviously have to focus on my own team, but it's very important for players to have a one-on-one environment every once in a while.
I agree, and I think that the majority, and I could be wrong, but the majority is more appreciative of that. Especially you're taking your time out of your day, out of your life to sit here and like help somebody with something. That's awesome. I mean, time I think is more valuable sometimes than money. So think about that, and you know, I think anybody listening to this too. You know, think about that. You know, if somebody's giving you feedback and they're trying to help you with something, don't take it negative. Just kind of, you know, take it positive. It's a positive thing. You know, keep a positive mental attitude towards any type of coaching session. You know, and then if you have any feedback you want to give back to them, I would say, you know, definitely do that too.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, I have one more thing to add. Which I remembered the thing that we were talking about because Gary touched on it. Is that it's difficult to go ahead and walk that line, right? Because the time is so valuable. When you go ahead and you get the free time set aside that you're not working or dealing with life stuff, you know, when we're the coaches of these teams, we have to go ahead and, you know, are we coaching or are we playing? You know, if your team is on a night that you're not practicing, you have to say like, you know, should I go ahead and should I try and get them to go ahead and make an unscheduled practice, or should I take that time to play? And if I'm playing, you know, the quality of play or like the purpose of my play is different, right? So I know that since we started the program, I know that I've stepped back a little bit, not necessarily as like a player overall. Like I think that once the program gets not necessarily like done, but once I get to a period of time where I get to play more often and work on my game a little bit more, I think that I will be better off having coached in the program and things like that. But now in this time, while we are here working together with our team and stuff like that, I don't have the time to go ahead and play consistently. You know, like I said, my shot is shit right now, and I'm not like upset about it. I just know that that's a byproduct of not being able to put as much time into the game. You know, go rock back to like winter break, I was playing, at a champion level in FFA, and at the best guys there, their shots are about as good as anyone's can get, in the Halo community. And I was sitting there and I was having a grand old time, like the exports on my YouTube channel and stuff like that. Those weren't like the best games of like people that I played against, but those weren't my best games either, right? I was playing at a pretty good level then, and I've certainly currently, like right now, I can't play right now like I did back then, because I don't have the time to go ahead and work on my shot and make sure my movement is crisp and things like that. So I think that is really tough, is going ahead and walking that line of, how much I play versus I coach. And if I'm going to go ahead and coach more and take a step back as a player, I have to go ahead and like deal with that. For me, it's not very hard because I can compartmentalize, and I'm very confident that if I had more time, I know I'd be kicking ass. And then I'll get back to that and having more time at some point, right? It's
Problem
just
with me,
what I'm dealing with right now.
yeah, what you're saying is I'm losing as a coach trying to develop myself as a player. I'm losing quality practice because I can play with players on my team and I can play with people on the program as much as I want. I love doing it. It's so much fun because I'm talking to people and I'm growing relationships, but I'm not playing people on my level. So I can go into a game every single game and drop 15, 16 kills going double positive, but it doesn't matter because that's not quality practice. I'm in fact getting worse by doing that because I'm developing bad habits and certain things that way. But in the end, it's like I have to value what the community wants, and I enjoy playing with people in the program more than I do playing on my previous skill level when I was playing high onyxes and champs in FFA or playing high onyxes. I used to be a doubles, like I grinded doubles like nothing else in this world, and I was a 1800 double player, which is very solid. Very hard to do.
Doubles
very hard to do in doubles.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
And I can't do that anymore because it takes very large amount of dedication, and it's something that that we have to give up as coaches. But I think everyone enjoys that, and I think we have a couple more questions from Totally Texan, and I think we can wrap up.
I mean, I have one last thing to add to that, right? So when we talk about playing less and taking a step back as players, the most difficult part about that for me, like I said, it's not difficult for me to understand that my shot's not going to be as good because I'm confident that if I had more time to play, I'd be doing better. So the most difficult part of that is that when you're not playing so actively at that high level, and like you're saying, you're going ahead and you're playing more relaxed in your gameplay, and because you're taking that step back, is you have to be very, very careful to make sure that that relaxed mentality and focus, like lack of focus, doesn't carry over into your coaching, right? So if there's certain things that I'd be thinking about as a player when, my reflexes and my mind and my Halo mind is sharp, I have to make sure that even if my shot isn't sharp, that I'm trying to keep my mind as sharp as possible. That way I'm helping my players think of all these things that I would have been thinking about if I played more. You understand?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I think we have our last question of the night, and it's a Totally Texan asking, how can players make the most of the time playing with their coaches, since time is so limited, time's precious? And I want to actually ask Archer, because Archer's a player in the community, and when you're playing with your coach, I mean, what do you try doing to make sure that practice is well met?
Well, me and Japanther have done a lot of things like Octagon. I played a lot of Octagon with him, actually. Trying to help me work on my shot. Another thing, he'll just roll with HCS with us, and then like after that, he'll kind of say, "Hey, you should have did this, you should have did that," or kind of go over different things. I mean, really, it's just I would take what you can get. You know what I mean? Whatever you can get. Like if he says, you know what, man, let's roll with some Octagon. He's pretty laid back, so it's like, you want to do Octagon, you want to do HL. I'm like, you know what, let's do some Octagon today, and he'll just sit there and he'll play with you for forever and BS with you, have a good time, joke around, and also give you tips. And I've actually gotten quite a few tips from him, especially when it comes to strafing and how to move a certain way. And
you've gotten a lot better too.
Yeah, and my favorite thing though to do, other than outside of playing with your Panther, is watching Yu-Gi-Oh play when he gets mad. No, I'm joking. But
I get mad at little shit, bro.
It's
Yeah,
funny, but like no, again, like it's one of those things where it's take advantage of whatever you can. You know, if they say, hey, let's get on, and you can get on, just do it, man. Get on, have fun. And I think that's the best thing is the one thing to keep in mind is to have fun with it too. If you know,
Sure.
if you're not having fun and you're getting upset, or you know you're playing with them, and let's say you're playing an HCS and you're getting smashed and you're like, oh, I'm miserable, you know, that's you're not having fun. You're probably not going to learn much either. Positive mental attitude. I already said it before. If you have that, you'll be fine.
Yeah, dude. I mean, as a coach, I mean, what I would say to my players, well, not just my players, but players in the program, right, is you're going ahead and what you want to do is you want to be active mentally, right? You're not just making a lot of time for Octagon and playing with your team, but you're making sure that that time is quality time, right? So you're showing up to your practices on time, and once those practices are starting, you are fully engaged. You're not, you know, screwing off on your phone when you're talking about team strategy. You're not like daydreaming about whatever, even if it's like other Halo stuff. You know, you need to be there active in the moment. And exactly like Nate said, you need to go ahead and extract every little bit of information and possible learning gains that you can from those moments that you have with your coaches and your teammates. And besides that, I think that it's important to understand that, you know, we are here together in this program, you know, learning together, but your individual growth as a player is very much your own journey, and you do not need one of us or, you know, to be able to roll with teammates in HCS. You don't need, you know, those things to go ahead and improve. You don't have to be playing a team practice in order to learn things. You don't have to be playing Octagon with your teammates to go ahead and, you know, work on your shot. You don't have to wait for a jump session to go ahead and work on your jumps on the maps, right? You know, you want to go ahead and just what you put in actively, like if you're putting in the work and you're putting in like good work, you're going to get better. The people who do that the best are going to see the better, like the best gains. There's no doubt about it.
One of the channels that you have, which I think is great, is a lot of YouTube tutorials, things such as that people can go to, and then just on their own sit there and learn different things, whether it be jumps, whether it be gunfighting, all that stuff. And I'd say anybody who's looking to kind of improve on things like that, take it upon yourself, go over to that channel. I think it's the announcements channel, right?
It would be in
Welcome channel, excuse me. And go there and look at all that stuff. I have myself, and me and my one of my teammates, Steamy Jungles or Noni, and we will be sharing YouTube videos. Oh man, did you see this one? Oh no, I didn't. I started watching it with him, you know, and start trying
That's
different
awesome,
things
dude.
that we're trying to do. So I mean, you got to take it upon yourself too. It's on you, you know. It really is, and I think you said it perfect. It's on you. So if you want to get better, you have to put the effort in. You got to put the you know, put that all in, and you'll get something back out of it.
Yep, for sure.
And I think that's it. Unless you have anything else to touch upon.
I mean, I know that I don't have any questions sitting in my box. I know that we urged players to send stuff to the both of you. So, I mean, we've been watching the chat, and, you know, there have been questions that have been sent to you guys. How, I mean, are there any unanswered questions? And if there are more than we would care to address right now, are there any that you feel are particularly like burning or important?
Not that I have. I'll be honest with you. I kind of dried up on my questions. So.
Okay.
I've got a couple, but I think we've answered them
Cool.
in the grand scheme of things.
That's good.
Good.
And you know,
what do you?
And just little things before we go. I mean, we've been here for 2 hours. It's crazy, but
yeah, dude.
And like going back to like quality over quantity, you know, and make sure that your practices are good, that you're focused. We shouldn't be hearing when we're in practice sessions with coaches and stuff. We shouldn't be hearing a bowl being, you know, lit up in the background. You know, we want everyone to be attentive, because that's the practice that's going to matter. It's the practice where you're on with 4 people that are communicating. You have a coach in the background letting you know what's going on. And if you're able to just take that as serious as possible, then you're going to do a lot better. And
Yeah, sure.
and Smarter, I guess Smarter had one. So I guess we'll end on this. Smarter was asking rotating coaches. So around the end of the season,
Ooh.
sending coaches to different teams and letting different teams have different insights, letting different players have different insights from different coaches at the end of the season.
Sure. So this is something that I had given personal thought to. I haven't brought it up to you guys yet. Not like an action item or anything that I was planning to bring up immediately, but it's something that I've thought about. And also shout out to Alex. And I mean, I know that you asked your guys on Guilty Sparkles to prepare some stuff for us tonight. And so thank you to everyone who submitted a question tonight for sure. Give us some stuff to talk about. And not just like, oh yeah, you gave us stuff to talk about for the podcast, but like obviously the things that come out of that. But yeah, so to answer that, when we talked earlier about some of the coaching challenges, part of those challenges are to be able to get to understand your players, getting to know each of them individually and how to coach them well. And, you have a good understanding of what things they do well and what things they need work on. Now, that being said, I don't think that we would see rotating coaches in the sense that we finish season 1 and then all the coaches shuffle onto a different team. That's not something that we're going to see. What I do think that there's a possibility of is, I mean, we had mentioned the idea of like open practices where on like a rotating basis, 1 or 2 teams, maybe like a team and a B team or 2 A teams every week will have one of their, like one practice be open and they could just talk about, obviously they're not going to talk about their specific strategy for, the game type that week. But if the coaches are talking about how to go ahead and play the game at a fundamental level, like if we're talking about Kali CTF, right, and the coach is going to be going over with his team about how you want to go ahead and you want to try and load up the sniper tower. Once you go ahead and you slay a couple people out, you want to move into the cave and wait again. And once you go ahead and you slay a couple people out, once you've creeped up into the cave, then it's time to grab the flag and get the hell out, right? So when we're having practices that we're talking about just general stuff like that, I think that that's good opportunity for open practices so that people can go ahead and come on in and, get a different taste of a different coach and what that different coach's insight might be. And I think that it would be cool as well to just like a week here and there, maybe like tri-weekly or something like that, or like once or twice a season, maybe have the opportunity for one of those practices to be switched where 2 coaches will go ahead and trade positions for one practice and just work on whatever they feel is important. For example, like Fury, I obviously love Kitty Squad, Kitty Squad represent, I love G all day. But, Fury is a team that I hold closely personally. I'm a big fan of them. And, I'm because I get to see their chat and, their values are closely aligned with mine. And, the environment that Task has instilled in his team is similar to what I have in Kitty Squad. And, I hang out there and I chat with those guys a good amount and they're a bunch of great dudes. So, I could see complete benefit in one practice every once in a while where I'll go ahead and I'll jump in with Fury, and I'll work with those guys on something and I'll let Task come to Kitty Squad and Task will work with Kitty Squad on something. I think that there's benefit to that for sure. And they have the opportunity as well, especially if we're going to do something like exchange film reviews. This is something that may be a little more beneficial for the A teams because those film reviews are so that extra level of importance. Where if you go ahead and you trade coaches for the A teams to go ahead and do a different film review, there's no doubt that, our coaches, we're all at like a similar level of play, but we all have our different strengths and weaknesses and minds about the game. And there's no doubt that coach is going to go ahead and they're going to see things about your team that you don't see, even though you're with your team all the time. It's because you're with your team all the time that there might be 1 or 2 things that go ahead and they stand out to the other coach that they don't stand out to you. So I think that there's benefit in doing like some switch practices here and there like that. But as far as like rotating completely onto a different team, probably not much.
And he brings up another point. Like he wants to something like a looking for group for coaches during scrims and stuff. Mm-hmm. And And I can see that because, like myself, I can't always be there for every scrim. I have a life.
Yeah, sure.
Coaches are there. When it comes to my personal opinion to like scrims and whether a coach needs to be present during scrims, I think it's beneficial to a certain extent, but I don't think a coach being there calling out power up times for you or calling out players is going to make you considerably better for practice. It's more just having that quality of making sure that those 4 players are calling out. And it's definitely a possibility. Like if you want a coach to coach you during scrims, feel free to ask. But I don't think it's necessary that you have to have a coach there for every scrim.
Yeah, and I mean for me, I think that it's different where you're playing 8s versus playing scrims, right? Because when you're playing set scrims with your teammates versus another team and their teammates, each team has their own individual strategies and like there are cohesive things that to work on as a team. And I think that, for example, if Guilty Sparkles and Kitty Squad had a scrim set up and you couldn't make it, I could see there being like great benefit and you being like, oh, hey, Josh, could you go ahead and like hop in with my team tonight? Go ahead and just like watch them, look at the things that they're doing. And, even though there's not benefit, like you said, in just doing like power up calling, when you go ahead and you jump in with your team, like a full coordinated team who are supposed to be together, like working on certain things, it gives you a firsthand view of how they're doing. And after the game, you get to go ahead and you're able to talk about their mistakes after the game. And, there's that value there. And if we're talking about 8s, you don't really have that quite as much because there's a lot going on anyway. You have a bunch of dudes who haven't been playing together a ton like that. Everyone has their own individual things to work on. And in a situation like that, I think it's better that the coaches go ahead and we jump in there to go ahead and mix it up with them, because not only does it give them an opportunity to play with us and have fun and see what we do as players, but for example, if a certain player isn't doing a certain sort of call out, like he's not good at calling out where he is, or if he called someone out like after he already died, that's maybe something that I wouldn't have noticed if I was coaching the team and worried about like trying to set up a team strategy or anything. But as a coach, if I'm playing with a player who does that, especially if it like screws me over and I die because of it, or if I'm not able to go ahead and clean up the kill because the call out was too late, that's a learning moment that wouldn't have happened maybe if I wasn't in there in the game playing with them, right? So I think that it's good for us as coaches to go ahead and coordinate with one another for those scrim opportunities or for matches, because I think it provides that extra value there. But as far as like random mates go, I think we could probably, it's fine for us to just keep hopping in and mixing it up there.
Awesome. And once again, just feel free. If you want to get a coach for a scrim or anything that's not your own coach, I mean, I think you should feel free to go do that. And
oh yeah.
And it's always better to have somebody there that can give you insight. And I think go ahead and do that. I'm going to let Archer take over. I don't think we have any other questions.
No, I think we're good, man.
Right,
this is a really good time.
This was great. I mean, we got a lot of content out of this and a lot of good info for everybody in this league. And I think that's it. I mean, we're good. Brooks, thank you very, very much for doing this. Gary, same thing to you. And I'm going to be probably talking to you very soon right after this anyway. And again, if anybody ever has any questions or anything like that, definitely feel free to reach out to Brooks, reach out to Yugi. If you want to have any questions for me too, reach out to me, and if I can't answer them, then I'll send them over to Brooks.
Yeah, man.
I think we should do this again.
Thank you so much for doing this tonight. Your setup is awesome.
Nice.
We had a really good time and talked about a lot of awesome things.
And I think we should do this again. I think there should be something where maybe talking about things like this or getting more questions, and then maybe doing like, I don't want to say like a town hall, but like something like that. Where
I think in between seasons, this is something that would be good to do, to go ahead and cover our bases, because we're going to have like an address type thing, I think, after each season, talk about things, how they went. And then, of course, with that, there will be things that we didn't think about, or there will be questions that arise that we don't know of. And, something like this is good to make sure that we cover all of our bases, right? Like building that foundation like we talked about.
Exactly.
So doing something like this would be good. And then we also talked about the idea of like a weekly, like shorter podcast, like half hour or something like that. Talk about the league, talk about the matches, maybe like some general discussion stuff, and even like a top play segment or something, doing that weekly. That'd be a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. We should set something up like that. If you're gonna have the website going, We can add that as part of that, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk about
All
that.
right,
Yeah.
and all right,
Yeah,
guys.
we need
Well,
to talk about that later.
that is
Yeah.
it for tonight. I'm gonna stop
Yeah,
the
man,
stream
good
right now.
stuff.
Thank you very much, everybody who is watching the stream, and you guys have a good night.
Also, last thing,
Yes.
I'm probably gonna hop on and play if anyone wants to play. So
Me too. So
I'll see you guys there.
You're using our podcast as an LFG group. Wow. Wow.
Savage, right?
Oh, God.
All right.
I gotta go.
Goodbye.
Gotta go.
All right,